Hello, everybody. My name is Luke Stapley, Marketing Director at Cocos. But today, I'm not actually the Marketing Director. Today, I'm actually an intern. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be playing the part of an intern working at a company that just works with Cocos Creator. And I wanted to go ahead and impress my new boss. So when I got to the job this morning, first they gave me an email. And the email goes like this. It goes, "Great to have you on the team, Luke. We hope to see great things from you. To get you started, we need you to build your first game by the end of the day. It doesn't need to be fancy, but it must be complete. I'll look over your code at the end of the day. We already put Cocos Creator and Microsoft Visual Studio Code on your computer. Good luck, your boss from the fake game company." So what you can see here is that we have a lot of big questions we have to do. Is pretty much we need to make this game and we need to make it now. And so we need to make something that is easy enough to work with, but also easy enough for us to develop. And I was looking at some of the games that we have made in the past with Cocos Creator, and I found that we could work with this one. Yeah, Flappy Bird. We made a Flappy Bird for Cocos Creator 2.0 that a lot of developers loved. In fact, it was one of our most viewed kind of website pages we had. Our web pages was looking at this Flappy Bird game. The problem is it's 2.x, and 2.x we don't have right now. We only have 3.x. So we need a new version. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a brand new version for 3.x. So what we're going to do is I'm going to build it. But, you know, if I just built it now from scratch without thinking, it probably would be very boring. Luckily, I actually made a really nice PDF that you can go ahead and download, and you can go ahead and grab, and it has all the information. It's 80 pages long, which is pretty long, but it's got tons of pictures, so you know exactly what's going on. You don't have to worry about any of the big problems. It's really great. And also at the end, if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see here, I've actually added all of the source code. So if you get stuck at any point, you can always go back to the bottom of this and check out exactly where it is. We also have the full version of this game will be on our website, or will be on GitHub. It depends upon what we'll do. But you can go ahead and you can download that, and you can also check that one out. So great. We won't have to worry too much. We can just follow my instruction booklet, and we'll go ahead and we'll get everything great. Also, if you haven't worked with Cocos Creator, we already have a YouTube series. So if you go ahead and download the YouTube series and check it out, you can also check a couple other things, and you can also look at our documentation and API calls, which will be very important in a minute. So let's go ahead and let's prepare before we even get started, because preparation is always number one. And the first thing we're going to prepare is the game logic. We already have Cocos Creator 3.6 or better. We also have Visual Studio Code already installed by Microsoft, and we're going to be using Google Chrome. Google Chrome will be used for our testing, and I'll show you that in a bit. But let's look at the game logic, because when we start to look at the game logic, it helps us to understand, okay, what parts are we going to need for this game? And as you can see, we're going to have to add a background, a ground, a bird, and a start screen. As you can see here, we have our score, we have our ground, we have our pipes, we have a background. So we need to have that. Then we're going to have to wait for the player to tap the screen, because in the original Flappy Bird, you had to tap the screen to start the game. So if they haven't tapped it, we just wait. But if they do, the screen disappears, or the start screen disappears, that first part. It resets everything. So the ground is reset, the pipes are reset, the bird is reset. We reset the score to 0. And then we have the ground and the pipes start to move to the left. And the ground is moving to show you that the bird is flying. And then we have the pipes moving. And so it's also moving left, and it's going to hit the bird. So what we need to do now is we need to start looking at having the bird start to fall. And then we're going to have to wait for the player to tap. Now, if the bird hasn't hit the ground or the pipe, that's good. That means that the bird hasn't died. So if it hasn't, then we can ask, did it pass a pipe? Because if it did pass the pipe, we have to give it a point. So if it did, we add a point. If not, we have to ask the next question. Did the pipe leave the area? Meaning, you know, when we see this pipe, did the pipe go all the way across the screen? If it did, then we need to reset the pipe back to the right, or we have to add another pipe on the right to come afterwards. Because if we just add 2 pipes, that's it, that'd be a very boring and very quick game. So we need to have them kind of resetting the pipe. Next, we have to ask, did the player tap the screen? If he did, then the bird flies up and we have to animate that flapping. And then we go back. If he didn't, then we go ahead and we still will have to go and move the ground and the pipes to the left. And then we just go over this again and again until finally we do hit a ground or a pipe. And if we do, we pause the game, pausing the pipe, the bird, and the ground. We're going to collect the score and we're going to change the score if it's a new high score. So we're also going to show updated start screen with a high score. And so that we know what the high score is now. And then we're going to wait for the player to tap the screen to reset the game. And if it does, it goes right back through to roll. So you can see here, this is the logic behind Flappy Birds. It's a very simple logic. And it helps us because then it gives us the idea of what we're going to need. We're going to need an overall game logic that controls everything, like a brain. We're going to need a ground moving logic. So this is going to be the thing that moves all the ground. We're going to need some bird logic, which means we're going to have some kind of bird telling it when to fly and animate when it flies. We also need some pipe logic. And then we're going to need some scoring logic to tell us when the score is correct or what the score is now. And then if it's the high score, keep the high score. So you can see here we have all these items right here. What we need to do is now we need to look at what we have for assets. The thing is we need assets. And I could just make my own assets, but I mean, I've only got a day, so I can't do that. Luckily, someone on GitHub actually has all the sprites and all the audio for us. So thank you so much, Samuel Kist. So we can go ahead and go to the code and we can just download it and it'll give us all the assets. But we do have a problem because I have the assets. And if you look at the sprites, you can see here, I'm going to hide that. We have numbers, we have the backgrounds, we actually have different colored Flappy Birds, and we have some pipes and we have a bass. The problem is I don't like that the numbers are PNGs. I don't like it because what's going to happen is it's a little bit more added difficulty. And for you, this is your first game, and I don't want you to have that difficulty. So what we're going to do is instead of using those, we're going to actually go ahead and use a Flappy Bird font, which is a font that was used for the game. And you can download it for free. It's a freeware. So I want you to go ahead and download this, and we're also going to download the Flappy Bird assets. And I went ahead and I've already added them here. You can see I have this, and then I also have the Flappy Bird true type. Okay. So now that I have all of that, we can go ahead and we've got all of our assets. So we don't have to worry about assets, which is great. What we can go ahead and just worry about now is just actually building the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go into our dashboard and I'm going to add a new game. And I'm going to add it as a 3.6.3. This is what I'm going to use. You can use whichever one you want. But this is the one I'm going to use. And I'm going to go into an empty 2D. And I'm going to name it Jumpy Bird because we're not Flappy Bird for intellectual property reasons. So we're going to go ahead and call it Jumpy Bird. And I'm going to hit the create button. And what it's going to do is it's going to start to create the game. And when it creates the game, we're going to have to think about a couple of things. First off, is this going to be a web game or is this a mobile game? Or is this a Switch game, Nintendo Switch game, or a PC game? We need to know this because if we make it these different ones, we're going to have to figure out like the size of the screen. For me, I'm going to make this a game for mobile and for mobile web because it'll be pretty easy. Also, if we look back at our original version right here, you can see it's already in a mobile setup. So I'm going to go ahead, and also the original one was mobile, so it'll just be more easy for us to work with. So let's go ahead and let's look at what we have here. I'm going to clear the console because we don't need any of that. What we have here is our Cocos Creator 3. You can see here what we have is we have our node list where all of our nodes. We only have one right now, and it's the canvas. We also have all of our assets right here. We also have an inspector that gives us properties of the nodes. And we have some services and camera preview, which we won't have to worry about too much right now. We also have this console, we have animation, and we have an assets preview. We'll worry about animation a little bit later. For now, what I want to do is I want to work on the assets because we want to add all of our assets into the game. So to do that, I'm going to click on the assets button. I'm going to add a folder. And I'm going to add this folder. I'm going to call it game resources or game resources. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the game resources in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add first the background. Then I'm going to add, oops, we'll go and not worry about that bird. What I'm going to do is you can see here, it actually added it into this, and I don't want that. I actually want it to be part of game res. So there we go. Now it's back to game res. You can just drag it back to where it was. I'm going to go back here and add another folder, and I want that to be fonts. I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to add another folder, and this one's going to be ground. I'm going to add another one. I want this one to be pipes. Okay. And then and that's going to be all of our assets. Another thing that I'm going to need is I'm going to need some prefabs, and we'll talk a little bit about prefabs a little bit later, but I want that to be part of this on its own. I also want another folder, and this one's going to be scenes. And what it is, as you can see here, this one is a scene. And right now we're only going to have one scene, but later, if we want to upgrade it, we might need multiple scenes. So it's best to have a folder for this. And it's always good to have folders and have everything all set up and placed in its own place, so you don't have to worry about where it's supposed to be or where you left things. And if you do, you can always just search the name right here. I also need scripts, and we'll be using scripts in a moment. And I think that is it. Oh, one more thing, animations, because we're going to be animating. We're going to be animating Flappy Bird, so we need that. Okay, so there you go. We have all of our assets all set up, and we don't have to worry about internal or IATN. Don't worry about those two. Those are pre-made, but they won't be part of your game if you don't actually use them. So it's only going to be things that are found in the nodes that are going to be in your game. So let's go ahead, and now that we have everything all set, let's go ahead and let's dump in all of our game resources into this area. So I'm going to open this back up, and I'm going to go into the sprites, and I'm going to go ahead and start dumping in. We have our background. So I'm going to drop the background in here, and you can see it already added it. I'm going to drop our ground. I'm also going to grab our pipe, and I'm also going to grab our 3 yellow birds. And finally, we need a font. And of course, I've got the font right back here. I'm going to grab the font. I'm going to put it right there. And there we go. We got all our stuff. We have our birds, our fonts, our ground, and our pipes. Okay. Now you can see here, there's extra stuff here. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But you can see here, we have all of our stuff. I'm going to open this up a little bit so you can see it all. All right, so this is what it should look like if you're working with Cocos Creator. And this is what I have in our instruction booklet. Now let's go ahead and let's change the project setting. Like I told you, we're going to change this project to be for mobile. And because it's mobile, this blue area is the area that people are going to be seeing the game. We call it the canvas, and the canvas is what we use for all 2D games. So anything that's in the canvas in a 2D game is what you could see. And you can see it's in a portrait, and I don't want portrait, or no, not landscape. I want portrait. So actually the design width and the design height are incorrect. What I want to do is I want to switch them. So I'm going to change this to 640 and this to 960. So now you can see here, it's changed to look a lot more like a phone. And 640 by 960 fits pretty much every phone. That's an easy one for us to use. Next is the fit width and fit height. And we don't want to use the fit width and fit height because on like Chrome or on Firefox, it's going to just stretch it out and it'll look really ugly. So I don't want it to stretch out. If we were making this for a phone, we could probably get away with doing these, but to stretch it out so that the picture would look better. But in reality, for us as beginners, we don't want to work on that. That's just going to make things a lot harder for us. So there we go. Now we have our game. You can see this is what the game looks like. This is where we're going to be putting all the stuff in the game. All right, let's go ahead and let's add our first item. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the background here. You can see right here I have the background. I'm going to drag it actually into the game. And as you can see, it's too small. That's the problem. We don't want it that small. I could do a lot of different things to stretch it. Like I could use our stretching tool and I could just stretch it out, but you can see it's going to be a big, it's just not going to fit. I want the whole thing to fit. So for me, what I'm going to do is going back here. I'm going to actually take the background, and before I do anything, I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to call it BG for background. So I know that this is the background node. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change the content size. Right now it's at 288. I don't like that. I want it to be 320. Whoops, 320 by 640. No, wait, no. That's not right. What we want it to be is, that's wrong. I want 640 by 960. That's what we want. And I want the position to be 0, 0. What's going to happen now is this 0, 0 is putting it right in the center because the anchor point is right on the middle. So now I've got it at the same size as the canvas. So it's fitting the whole canvas. So now we have the background fitting the whole canvas. And you can see it stretched it, but it doesn't look bad. So we can be happy with that. That's going to be a problem once we start to hit the ground, because the ground has a bit of an issue. What I want to do before I do the ground, though, is I want to add the bird. I'm going to grab the, let's see, I'm going to grab the up flat bird, and I'm going to drop him in as well. Just making sure I'm in the canvas, and because you don't, and then I'm going to drop him in. And we have a problem. Actually, I'm going to, come on, I don't want him to be part of the ground. There we go. Put him right under there. There we go. So, because if you put him, I don't want him to be part of the background. I want him to be there. We have a problem. If I go back and put it 0, 0, it's too small. I mean, if we played the game like this, it'd be too easy. He could go right through the pipes all the time. So we need to increase the size. So I'm going to do, I'm going to change the scale. What scale does is it just increases the size 2 by 2 there. So now it's double the size. And there we go. That looks a lot better. That looks like it's going to be workable. All right. If you go back to our example, yeah, that looks pretty close. Okay. So we'll keep it at that. All right. Now we've got our stuff kind of all ready. We can go ahead and start working on the ground. The ground is going to be a little bit difficult because if I look at the ground here, first, what I want to do is explain how we're going to do the ground. If I drop the ground in here, you can see here we have a problem. The ground is not big enough for the whole thing. And I could, if I go back here and I go to this thing, I could stretch it out to make it fit. But as you can see, it looks really bad. I really don't want to do that. It looks pretty ugly. Plus, I mean, what am I going to do? Just keep it here? No, I want it to move to the left. So I've discovered for us as beginners, it's probably best for us to do something a little bit interesting. So what I'm going to do is, before I continue to move this, I'm going to build a new node, and I'm going to call it ground. Okay. And by the way, I'm going to change this also to be bird so that it works all right. So I'm going to call this ground. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to add it into the ground node. So now that it's part of the ground. I'm going to also change it to ground 1. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. So I'm going to hit Control D, or click on it and hit Control D, and it's going to duplicate. I'm going to have 3 duplicates. And what that's going to do is I'm going to put this one right here, and I'm going to put this one right here. And so the problem is, well, actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and change the content size. I want it actually to be 320. What's going to happen is that I can do, once I put these as 320, is I can go ahead, and this is the cool part. I can go ahead and you can see 320 is half of 640. So I could actually take this and I could move it right here and it fits perfectly together. And so what I can do is I can do this as like automation. So if I go back to my example here, you can see here, I have it right here. You can see what happens is I can go ahead and have these moving, and then when it ends, I can have it come back to the beginning and keep going. So it's just doing over and over. This one goes over, then this one goes over, and then this one goes over, and it just keeps going over and over and over. So what's going to happen is it's going to make it look like the bird is moving while it's happening, and it's going to be really cool. It's the ground. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this ground, and we have a problem. Because it's at 158.714, that's not cool because the math is just going to be super difficult to work with. I mean, you can see here, I can move it here and it's going to be, it's just going to be hard, especially later on if our boss wants us to change the size. He doesn't like the content size. It's just going to be impossible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this a little bit. I'm going to change the anchor point. So the anchor point works really well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change it to 1, and then I'm going to change it to 4.5. And then I'm going to change the position to 0, 0. So what happens is now you can see here, it's placed right here. And so now if I wanted to, now when I move it, you can see it moves exactly where I want it to move. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Okay. I'm going to put it at 4.5, but I'm going to actually put it at 320 by 0. And you can see here now they fit together perfectly. Okay. And then for this one, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the anchor point at 1 and 4.5. And then I'm going to put the position at 0. And then I'm going to put this one at, oh, I'm sorry, not 0. I'm going to put this at 640 by 0. There we go. And now we have it perfectly. And the reason I'm doing this is because now the position is at 0. And I'll show you why in a moment. It's just going to make things a lot easier for us. Just remember that this is at 0, 0. Okay? We want it to be at 0, 0. Okay? So now we have everything perfectly working. We have a little bit of the ground cut, but don't worry. I actually don't like to have too much ground. I want to see a lot of the skyline and a lot of the trees. It's much nicer. So now we have our ground set in position. So now all we have to do is add some code to make it actually work. So to do code for all of this, what we're going to do is we're going to go into scripts right here, and I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to create a new script. I'm going to go ahead and hit new TypeScript, new component. I'm going to call it ground. And make sure you name it exactly correctly when you make it, because what's going to happen, I'm going to double click it to open up Microsoft Code, Microsoft Visual Studio Code. What's going to happen is it's going to, that's nice. It's going to name this part and this part the same thing, and we need that. It'll be easier for you later on. But let's go ahead and let's look at this code. As you can see, we have all of our Jumpy Bird information right here and all of our metas and all that other stuff. Let's just put that away. What we have is we have 3 parts. We have an import, we have a const, and we have a C class. Don't worry about the const. You're not going to be needing to change anything about that. The import you will need to know about. The import tells us all of the parts of CC, the module CC. And when we do module CC, we'll have a lot of the APIs. Now, in Cocos Creator, we don't give you all of the APIs because you don't need all the APIs. You won't need animation. You won't need UI component for everything. So to keep your code nice and clean and simple, we only give you 3 parts: the decorator, the component, and the node. If you need something, don't worry. You can add that API later, and I'll do that in a moment. Okay? The next part is this CC class. And the CC class is going to be the most important part. This is where all of your code is going to be living, or most of your code. So anything that is of need that you want Cocos Creator to do something to your nodes has to be in the CC class. So we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in here, and I'll explain it in a moment. First, let's look at these 2 parts. We have a start and an update. We need the update for later, and we'll talk a little bit about that first, but we don't need the start. So let's delete that. and I'll put the update down here away from everything. Okay. So when we do any type of work in our code, the first thing you want to do is you want to start by sharing all of the properties. Okay. That's usually what I like to do is give out the properties first. And what the properties are things that you can actually edit inside of Cocos Creator. And I'll show you that in a moment. First, let's go ahead and let's add a few properties. So what I want is a property. And this property is going to ask me what type. I'm going to tell it I want a type of node. Okay. And you can give it any type of types. Types are, you can give it any, most types will work with it, even custom types. I'm also going to add a tooltip. And what a tooltip does is it tells your other developer friends exactly what you're doing here. So for example, I could say, I want ground 1 is here. All right. So I could say, hey, this is where the first ground goes. Okay. And that's all I need. There's some more things you can do with your properties, but for now, that's all I need to decorate them. We call this decorating your properties. And then I can say, I want a public oops, that's not what I want. Go ahead and delete that. I want a public, wow, I'm getting it really bad. A public ground 1, and I want that to be a node. Okay. Now I want to do the same thing again. So I'm going to copy that, but I want it to be ground 2, and I want a ground 3. So I want 3 grounds, okay? And I'll show you why we want these properties. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S to save. You can also save. I'm going to go back into Cocos Creator, and you can see here the ground has already updated here. What I can do is I'm going to click on this ground node who's going to control all these different grounds, and I'm going to drag this here and make it a new component. And as you can see here, it's going to say, hey, there's a ground component now. And it's asking for 3 ground parts, which I can go ahead and drag in. I can drag in 1, drag in 2, and you can see it turns green. If it's not the right thing, for example, this thing, you can see it's red, meaning it won't go in here because it's not a node. So I need to add nodes in here. And there you go. We have our ground nodes, okay? And now anytime I ask for ground 1, ground 2, ground 3, it's going to change these nodes because I have them set up as these. And you can see I have a tooltip here. Ground 1 is here. And I haven't changed these. I should change these real quick. 2, 3. I can save that, go back, and it'll update. And there you go. Ground 2 and ground 3 is here. There you go. Cool, huh? Now I don't have to worry about if I wanted to change I don't like that node. I can always just drag and go, oh, ground 1 shouldn't be there. It should be here. I can put it right there. Wait, but I don't. I want it right there. So we have our grounds. Okay. So now we have our properties. Okay. We only need 3 properties because we're going to be only moving the grounds for now. Let's go ahead and let's start working on our, I come from a C++ world, so I always call these variables, but I know in TypeScript they're not. So I apologize for all of you who are not, who I'm making very angry. But I'm going to go ahead and hit a ground width. I want the ground width variables. So I want to know what's the width of the ground. And we'll talk a little bit why we need that in a moment. So I'm going to go public ground width. And I'm going to do, I got to remember to do this in camel case. So always uppercase the second word. 1, or the words afterwards. And I want this to be a number. And you don't have to put this here, a semicolon, but I just do it because I'm used to it, because once again, I was from a C++ world, and we did everything with a semicolon afterwards. And so it's just, luckily TypeScript says you can do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again, but I'll just copy instead and add 3. And so we have ourselves our numbers. So these are going to be our ground widths. So we're going to be making temporary ground widths with these. Next, I have, I'm going to need to make temporary locations for our grounds, because what happens is if we want to edit the ground in 2.x, you could just do it directly. But in 3.x, the ground location is read only. So I can't move the position by just saying, hey, move the position. What I need to do is make a temporary position and then add set the temporary position as the new position. And this helps you. Part of you will say, oh, this is more time and more work. But part of me is also like, well, yeah, but there's less opportunity for you to break your own code. So it comes with its good, it comes with its bad. But we're going to go ahead and work with it this way. And I'm going to go ahead and call it a temp start location of, make sure I capitalize location. And I'm going to make it a new vec3. Now, if you have older versions of Visual Studio Code, you may see there will be a little thing that'll say a problem saying, what is a vec3? And that's because vec3 is a API. And luckily, in the newer versions, it will recognize, oh, that's an API, and you need to add that. And it'll add it up here. So it represents 3D vectors. And that's another question. Why are we using vec3? Well, when we set positions, it usually will request a vec3. So it's better that we use a vec3, even though we're not going to be using the Z axis. We'll be using the X and the Y, but not the Z. And you can see here, it's going to, it represents the 3D vectors or points, but we're only going to be using the first two, the X and the Y. So trust me, this is it helps you to get everything working much better. Let's go ahead and do this instead. And we'll just do temp2 and temp3. Okay, so now we have temporary locations for each of the grounds. All right, and then finally we need the speed. How fast is this game playing? What I want to do is I want the main controller, the main game controller to be doing it. But for now, let's just make a variable. And we'll call it a number. We'll give it a number, and we'll just give it a basic one we'll call it 50 for now. We'll come back to it later, and we'll change this a little bit later. But for now, this is good enough. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we can go ahead and that's all of the variables and that's all the properties. So now we can get into the methods. We already have update, but we'll go into that later. We need two more. First, we need one called onload. And what onload does is anytime you have a game start, this starts up first. So anytime the node is activated, this is the code that has to happen. The problem with onload is that it only does it one time. So when the node starts, it does this and then it never does it again. So what we want it to do when it loads is we want it to reset all of the locations of the ground so that we have the grounds set in these positions when we start the game over again. Because, you know, if the game was playing, the ground could be, for example, if we look at the ground, it could be like right here. So we need it to reset back to its beginning spot. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask it to just call this dot startup. And this is the next method that we're going to build, is the startup. Oh, and of course, I'm forgetting to do camel case again. Okay, so now we have to do startup. And startup, what we're going to do is I'm going to get a couple of things. First, I want to get the ground width because I want to know what the width of the ground is. Because this is going to be, if you remember, when here we start here at 0. We start here at 0, and then the second one is 320, which is the content size. So I need to know where it is because I don't want these to be like on top of each other. That'd be bad. We don't want that. So what I want to do is find the ground width. So I'm going to go ground width is this dot ground 1. I want ground 1, and I want to get a component. And when I'm getting a component is I'm going to get the UI transform. And I want its width. Now, you might get another error again because it's going to ask for the API for UI transform. So what the heck is happening here? What am I doing here with this? What I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, go to ground 1, go to the UI transform, and tell me the width of the content size. So this right here is the W. You can see here it's the width. So the width is 320. And I want you to do is I want to put that into the ground width number. Okay? Now, do it again. We're going to do this again for 2, and we're going to do this again for 3. And of course, I'm going to change the ground width to 2 and 3. There we go. Now we have the widths. And so now what we can do is we can start to say, okay, what I want is this. I want temp start location 1. I want the X position, because right now when it's a new vex tree, it's 0, 0, 0. So I want the X to equal 0. Bring it back to 0, even though it might, just in case, because you never know. It could be somewhere else, because we'll be working on the temp location later. But I want the X to go back to 0. Next, I want this dot temp location for the second one. I want it to be equal to this dot ground width 1. So what that's going to do is that's going to say, okay, what's the ground width? I want that to be the X, which is exactly where it is right now. It's at 320, which is the X. So we look at the next one, the third one. You say, oh, it's 640. Okay, so that's going to be this dot ground temp start location dot X equals this dot ground width 1 plus this dot ground width 2. And that'll equal out. And there you go. That works out perfectly. Now we have everything all set up. So now we just need to put the positions back together. Like I said, we can't do it directly. So what we can do now is we can just say this dot ground 1 dot set position. And this is where we can actually do it. The set position method will actually let us set the position of the X, Y, and Z of a node. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put it at the temp start location 1. This dot temp start location 1. And that, because that's where we want it to go back to. All right. And we can do that again. And I think do it again. 2, 3. And we'll go 2, 3. And there we go. We set it up. Now everything should set up in the right position when we start the game up. And anytime we call startup, like for example, if the game tells us, hey, we need to start the game up again, it'll set everything back to its original position. Awesome. Now we need to make it move. So we've got we need to make it move. We also need to make sure that when it gets to this point, it comes back again. So this is what we're going to do with update. Update does is every time there's a new frame, we want you to do this. This is what update does. And the delta time is just going to be just a number. We're going to have that as any number we want when we call the update. So when we call update, we'll ask us for a number, and we'll give a number like 12 or 15 or 30. We'll worry about that later. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this up. This dot temp location. We're going to go ahead and redo the temp location is equals this dot ground 1 dot position. And so what it's going to say is I want the XYZ of ground 1 to be the temp location. Okay. Then I want this dot. I want to do the same thing for all the other ones. So go ahead and put that in. We'll do that again. Okay. Oop, go back. Okay. So now we have our temp location set. Great. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to get the speed and subtract it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go this dot temp start location 1 is minus equals, meaning I want to subtract this from it. This dot game speed times the delta speed or delta time. Okay. And so that's going to help us to figure out, okay, what's the speed? This is going to be the thing that's going to help us to know, okay, this is how fast we want the ground to move. So if we want it to move super fast, we can increase the speed or we can increase the delta time. And we'll do that a little bit later. For now, delta time will just be 1, or I think regularly, I think there's already a parameter for that. So it's already set up for us by Cocos Creator. So we don't have to worry about setting up delta time, but we can increase the speeds by doing game speed, which we have right here as 50, but we'll change it a little bit later. I'll show you how in a moment. But let's go ahead and do the same thing for all the other locations. Actually, let's go ahead and copy all this. Okay, and now we could just go ahead and set the position, but that's just part of it. Because I could just go ahead and copy this and do this. But we need something in the middle, because what if the ground is past 0? We need to remember, we have to bring it back. So how do we know when it's gone off? How do we know when it's gone off the screen? Yeah, we need to know when has it gone off the screen. So if we look at Cocos Creator, we can look at, for example, ground 1, and if we move it, we can see it goes off the screen around 320. Oh wait, 320, that's the content size. So what we can do is we can just say, going back to the code, we can do an if then, if this temp start location dot x is less than or equal to 0 minus the ground width 1, then we need to do something. Now, what we need to do, we need to bring it back to the beginning. The problem is, like I said, right now I could just say, oh, just take it 3 times and we're done. But you never know if they're going to be changing the project settings or the project size. So let's do something before that. What I'm going to do is actually go back and I'm going to add a little bit of something. I'm going to do a couple of consts. Const scene. So what I'm asking for is I want the director. What the director is they're the one in charge of the whole game. The director kind of tells us, okay, I'm the one telling everybody what to do. And so what I want the director to do is get the scene, and then I want it to give me, from the scene, I want to get the size of the canvas. So what I'm doing is I'm saying I want to get the component in the children, and I want to get canvas. And you can see here I want that canvas. It'll turn green. You'll know you got it right if you got it green. Okay? And of course, that means we're going to need the director. Of course, we're going to have the director up here, and we're also going to have to get the canvas up here. Okay? So we go ahead and go down here, and we've got if this, then that. All right, and so what I want to say, if it's that, what I want to do is I want to get, I want this dot temp start location 1 dot x to equal the canvas dot get component UI transform, and I want you to get the width. So that means what I want you to do is get the width of the canvas right here, which is 640, and then add that as the new location. Because if we go back here, you can see this is 640. If I go to the ground and I move it by 640, it goes right back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, so that's what we want. All right, so we want it to be 640. And so now that means that if it ever goes too far, it'll come back to the beginning. And that's just for one. So of course, you know what we're going to have to do? We have to do this 2 more times. But trust me, we're almost done. And of course, make sure you got your... There we go. And there we go. We got our ifs thens. Okay. And now we can go ahead and set the position, because now the position has been set. Okay. Now we can go ahead and save this thing. Let's go back to Cocos Creator, and you can see we've added all of it back here. It's all in our inspector. We can actually look at our code right here. Now what I can do is, let's go ahead and let's just play it and see if it works. I'm going to go ahead and click the play button, and we'll see what happens. We have a problem. As you can see, the game is not showing us the ground. And the reason behind that is because of the camera. Let's go back to ground. You can see ground is UI 2D, but let's see here, it should be UI 2D. If I look at the camera, it should be visibility, should be UI 2D. It should see it. So we should be able to see everything. It's UI 2D, and these are UI 2D. So it should be able to see it. So what is going on? Okay, so I see what I did wrong. Let me go back here. I forgot. As you can see here, it says any. I'm not actually putting the right one. What I want is I want the X. You have to be very careful. I want the X to move. I feel stupid for doing that. Just remember, you want to put the X right here. I feel dumb for not putting that there. Let me try saving it again. This time it should work. If I go back, I can go ahead and click the play button. And there it is. Awesome. As you can see here, we have our ground moving. So there you go. We got ourselves, everything's working. We got our game going. We got the ground moving. We have our bird still here because we haven't programmed anything in the bird, but everything's working. And I'm happy with this. We can go ahead and go to the next part, which is the points, because this is going to be the next easiest. Ground was pretty easy. So let's go up a little bit more and let's do the points. Then after that, we'll go a little bit harder. Hello, everybody. Before we go ahead and go into the next part, which is going to be the points, I forgot we need to make the brains. When we're making this game, we're going to actually have to have some kind of controller that's going to control everything. So why don't we go ahead and, as you can see here, we're going to call it game control, and it's going to be in controlling most of the stuff. And also you can see that it's not part of the canvas. So we're going to go ahead and let's go back into Cocos Creator, and we're going to actually go ahead and add it right here. I'm going to go create empty node, and we're going to call it, I'm going to go ahead and call it game control. And game control, I'm going to sit right up here. So it's actually not part of the canvas, because we don't have to worry about it being in part of the canvas because it's not going to be actually seen. There's nothing in it that's going to have any kind of visual item in it. So it doesn't need to be part of the canvas. We'll just try to keep all of our visual stuff inside the canvas for now. So for game control, what we need to do is we need to add a few things. Right now, all it has is just a position, but I want something a little bit more later, and I'll show you later about it. Just trust me on this. What I want to do is I want to add a component called UI. We've already done this before. We want the UI transform. So we have a content size. I'm going to put that right here for now. Okay. And trust me, you'll see why we want it in a while. But for now, let's keep it from there. What we want to do mostly right now is we want to actually work on the code. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another script, and this script is going to be creating a new script, just like we did with the last one. We're going to add it. We're going to call it game control. Okay. And so what game control's duty is and I can show you real fast. It's going to do a lot of stuff. It's going to start the game, listen for mouse clicks, tell when the ground when to do stuff, tell the bird when to do things. It's going to tell, and also when to fly. It's going to tell when the pipes are supposed to fly onto the next frame. It's also going to tell us if the bird has passed. It's also going to tell the score to add a point, and it's going to stop everything when the game's over. So this is probably going to be like the big thing. It's going to do everything. So we're going to come back to this code many, many, many times. So what I want you to do is just be prepared for all of that, okay? So what we're going to do is, if you see here, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the code. I can actually go in through this way, but I'm going to go through this way, double clicking on it. And you can see here, we've got all of our stuff here again. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything here, start fresh. Okay. And we're going to start by adding one property. Okay. I'm going to add a property, which is a component. Actually, yeah. And we're going to say it is a type is a component, and this is ground. Ooh, go back. Yep. I don't need that help. Okay. And I'm going to say this is public ground, and it's a ground, which I could do it that way, but I really don't. And you could do that this way, but for help, it's best to just kind of do it like this. You can do it either way, but for me, this is much better, because then only the ground nodes can go into this, and there's only one ground node, so it only will allow us to have that one ground node go in. Okay. Another one we want is at property. We're going to do the same thing. And this time I want this to be a CC integer. And what a CC integer means is that it's going to be a integer, because in JavaScript and TypeScript, there really isn't integers. There's just numbers, which could be any number, a float or an integer. So in CC, we can set it up so we only want integers, or it will round to an integer. Which is much better for what we're going to be doing. And I'll show you what that does in a minute. And we're going to call that public speed. And this is going to be the speed. And for now, I'm going to call it 300, but we can change it later. And you'll see how that works when I add this to the game control speed node. Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's see here. Now what we need to do is we need to do a couple of things. I want to add the ground, all the information from the ground node that we were just making here. I want to add all of this, and I want it to be recognized by the game control. So how do I do that? The easiest way to do that, and the way that we usually will do it, is we can go ahead and we can import, just like we did with the CC. We can import, oh, we already did it right. Oh, they already did it for me. Darn it. I'm going to actually, I don't want it there. I want it here. It looks nicer there. There we go. We can import ground from .ground. And so what it's going to say is saying, hey, a ground is, these are grounds. Okay. And so I want this ground to be the ground. So now this node will take up all of the TypeScript scripting from this. And so anytime I call upon ground, it will give me, so for example, I can go ground dot, I can go this dot ground one. I can go into it and I can change all of the stuff within ground, which is awesome. We'll be doing a lot of that. Oh, that'll help us out a lot later on. Okay. Now, oh yeah. Now that we have this, we can actually go back in here and remember, we can add the same thing here. We can go ahead and import, we can import game control from game control, and I can go ahead and change the number from 50 to I can go ahead and go build a new game control. Go public game control speed. And I can equal that to a new game control. And now what I can do is I say the game speed equals, and now I can go ahead and I can just say I have a game speed, and I can go down here to the update, and I can just at the beginning of it go here and go this dot game speed equals this dot game control speed dot speed. And so what this does is now whenever game control, now the speed of this will become the new game speed for the ground. And so now we don't have to worry about it. We can go ahead and we can edit here because now we have the properties of CC integer. So that means that we can actually edit it just like we did with the ground. It'll come up here. We can actually edit the number here. And I'll show you that right now, actually. Let's go ahead and go to game control. Let me go ahead and save this real fast. And I'll save this as well. And we'll go back here, and I can go back into game control, and I can add game control. And you can see here, now I can change the speed. So I don't have to go back to the ground and change it here. I can just change the speed here, and it will read it. And actually, it's asking for the ground. So I can just drag the ground here. Boom. And now everything works. And now I can increase the speed. Very cool. Also, let's go ahead and save the scene. And it's going to ask me to save the scene. And I'll go ahead and put it in scene. We'll just go scene, because we don't have to worry about too much. So there you go. And these are where all your scenes are. And so this scene is now this scene. Pretty cool. Let's go back to the game control, and let's finish that up now. Let's go ahead and add another speed, because that's just the ground speed. Let's go ahead and add the pipe speed. And we'll just say that this is a type is a CC integer again. And, oops, CT integer. I'm not going to give it a tooltip. You don't have to if you want to. I do in the manual. And I'm going to just call this pipe speed. I'm going to give it say it's a number. And it's equal to 200. We're going to just say 200. Okay? Give it a little bit slower. Okay. So there we go. We have ourselves a couple of properties. We'll probably add a couple more later, but that's enough for now. Gives you an idea. We're going to need 3 different methods. Now, of course, we're going to need onload, just like all the time. We need to go ahead and say what we're going to be doing when we load the game. We're also going to need another one called initializing listener, or init listener. And what this is going to do is this is going to listen for all of our keystrokes and all of our mouse strokes. Next, we're going to have our start game, just like the last one. But this one's going to be the master start game. So it's going to tell everything when to start. So, of course, we're going to be putting in the ground start game here. Okay? So let's go ahead and save that for now. Save that for now. Let's go ahead and I think that's all we need for now for game control, so that we have this all set up. We'll work on this later, but I wanted to get us there so that you can understand how we're going to import things in. So now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and get into the points. Let's go ahead and go in here and let's go back into the canvas, and I'm going to add a new node. And I'm going to add the node, and we're going to call it results, because I want to see the results of things. Okay? Okay, and so what we have here is I'm going to add a couple of nodes into here to make it all work out. I'm going to have the score. And inside the score, I'm going to have 2 scores. We're going to have current score. And I'm going to have another empty node. I'm going to call that top score. Okay. And then, of course, I also need another result, which is going to be another node, and I want that to be the try again. Okay. So now we have 3 parts. We have try again, top score, and current score. And so what we want all of these to be is we're going to be labels. These are going to be labels because remember we added the font. So we're going to have them as labels. And what label is if I go ahead and we got the current score, I can go ahead and add a component and I can add as a label. And what a label is pretty much font or words that you want to put on there. And you can see it says label. I could change that to something else. But for now, I'm just going to put that as 0. Because that's how many points we have. It's a little bit small though. I want it to be a lot bigger. So what I want it to do is I'm gonna go ahead and change the size. I'm gonna go 60, no, I'm gonna go 80. And as you can see, it's gone a little bit over past the height. So I'm gonna also change the height to 80. So there you go. Now we have the height is the same as the string. So that's our current score. And then we have our top score. Then the top score, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and add it as a label. And we're going to give it the score. So we're going to just say hi, score, comma, 0. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right above it. Ooh, so I'm going to put this above right here, and I'm going to move this up a little bit more. There we go. And then, of course, we have on the bottom the try again, which, of course, is the label is going to say try again question mark. And there you go. That looks great, but we have a problem. It doesn't look like the game. You can see here we are using a font. We're using Arial. So I don't think we want Arial in our game. We already have a font right here that we want to use, which is the Flappy Bird regular. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something crazy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say I don't want to use, if I push it back, you'll see here it says use system font. And what system font is pretty much all the fonts that you usually will get, like Times New Roman, Arial, Veradana, all those ones. We don't want them. So I'm going to actually turn them off. And now it's going to say, hey, you need to send me a font. So I'm going to go, okay, here's a font. And there it is. And as you can see, it's a little bit too big, too small now. So I'm going to increase the size. There we go. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. All right, there we go. And now I can go back to the top score and do the same thing. And I'll increase the size again. And I've got try again. I'll do the same thing. Nope. And if you don't like this font, that's fine. You can change it to anything you want. So that's the beauty of this game. There we go. And there we go. Now it looks pretty close to what the game looks like. It's not exactly the same, but it's good enough. Okay. Now we can go ahead and we've got all of our stuff. We go ahead and let's add a script to the results so that we can change all of these nodes, so that we can change the score and the top score and the try. Because we really won't need to worry about the try again, but we do need to change the top score and current score. So to do that, we're going to have some kind of script inside results. So once again, in the scripts area, create, TypeScript, new component, and we're going to be adding results. And there we go. We got a result. So let's go ahead and let's open that guy up. All right. Just like all the other ones, clean it up. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and we'll add our components. Let's see here. What components do we have? We have 3. So we have 3 different labels, if you remember right. So let's add those. Property. The first one is a type, is a label. And of course, it's going to add the label to the top here, like it's supposed to. If not, go ahead and write it in. Public score label. I'm going to call that the score label. And I'm going to call that a label. Yeah. And then the other ones are the same, so I'll just copy. And then I'll just change the names to high score, and this one to result end. So what's the result at the end? Okay. All right. Now we can go ahead and now that we've got those properties done, we can go ahead and add a couple of parts. So we can go ahead and add max score. What is the max score? It's going to be a number, and we're going to start it off at 0. And current score. So we need the current score. That's a number. Okay. And now we got to have a couple of methods because we're going to be doing a couple things. We need an update score method. We're going to need a reset score method to reset the score. Because we need the update to update it. If it's the high score, we need to update the high score. We need the reset score to reset the score back to 0. We need an add score to add 1 point to the score. Okay. We want to show results because we want to show the results from our work. We want to show off this part. We want to show off all of these things, but then when we play the game, we want to hide the high score and the try again. So we need to hide the results. We want to show them when we lose, but then we also want to hide them when we are not in need of them and we're playing the game. So we need to have a hide results. Okay? So let's go back up to update score. So with update score, what we're going to need is we're going to need a number. So I'm going to just call it num as a number. Okay? So we need num as a number. So we're going to go this dot current score equals num. So what we're saying is that whatever the current score is right now, we're going to have that as the num. Okay? And then what we're going to do, or actually, yeah, we're changing current score to num. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say this dot score label dot string equals this. We're going to put a blank here because we don't need anything here. And then plus this dot current score. Now the reason why I have this here is because we can't just show this because right now it's a number and we want a string. So we can't, by doing this part, it forces it to say, hey, this is a string with a number, and so create the whole thing as a string. If I didn't do that, I'd have to do a lot of finagling, a lot of crazy work. So the easiest thing for us to do is just to do this, okay? And so we'll go ahead and we'll do that, and that is it for update score. So that's going to give us the new score. It'll put the score of how well you're doing right here. So that's what's going to be doing that right here. Now we have to reset the score. So what we're going to do is we're going to go this dot update score, and we're going to say the score is 0. Okay, so the current score will become back to 0 because the current score is going to change from this number. Okay, very easy. Then what we're going to do is go this dot hide results. So we want to hide the results after that. Okay, because we're resetting the game when we reset the score. Also, this dot score label dot string is equal to, and so the score is going to be, we're going to just do the same thing here. We're going to just update the score. Oh, actually, we don't have to do that because we already do that in update score. So never mind. Don't have to do that. That's dumb. Okay. Next, we're going to do the add score. So how are we going to add score? So what we're going to do is go this dot update score, and then the number is going to be this dot current score plus 1. And so what it's going to do is it's going to add the 1 first, and then, so it's going to add the 1 first. So if the score is 0, it's going to add the 1 first. It'll be 1, and then it's going to go to the update score and then change the score to 1. So it's going to say 1 is the current score. Pretty nifty way of doing this, if you ask me. All right. Now we have to go ahead and do the last two, which is the show results. To show results, this is pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to go this dot max score, equals, and we're going to use math here, math.max. So what it's going to ask with max, what it does is it asks what is the largest expression. So it's going to say which of these two is the max. And so, or the values, and we can have multiple values, but all we need are two. So we're going to ask for this dot max score, and we're going to ask for this dot current score. So it's going to look at these two, and it's going to say, okay, which one's bigger, the max score or the current score? If the max score is the biggest, put it in max score. If the current score is higher, put it in the max score. So that's an easy way of doing that. Then we're going to go this dot high score dot string is going to equal high score, and then a space, because you have to always add a space because they won't do it for you, this dot max score. And don't forget to add this. Okay. And then finally, this dot result end dot node dot active equals true. So what this does is it's saying, hey, is this node going to be active? Yes. So turn it, yeah, we want the node to be active. Because if we go back here, you can see here we have this little button here. This means that it's active. If I click on it, you can see it disappears. It means it's no longer active. And you can see right here, it's no longer active. So if it's active, then it will be shown. This is the easiest way to hide nodes. It's just to turn them off by turning them actively off. It really works really well. You'll be surprised how awesome it is to do that for a lot of your games. And then with hide result, it's pretty easy. All we have to do is this dot high score dot node dot active equals false. It's no longer active. Also, this dot result and dot node dot active equals false. And there we go. We have ourselves all of our code that we need for the results for now. Let's go ahead and save it. Oops. Let's go ahead and save this sucker and go back in. And now let's go back into the results node and let's drag this right on in. And there we go. Now it's going to ask for all these labels. So we can go ahead and put the high score on the top score, the result end right here, and then we got the current score goes right here. And there we go. Now, if we go ahead and hit play, it should come up. There it is. Nice. We went ahead and we got all of that done. Now we can go ahead and add it to game control. So let's go ahead and close that, go back here, and let's go back into game control. Now that we're back in game control, we can go ahead and add this to the game control section. So let's go ahead and let's add another property. Go at, actually I would like to keep the numbers together. So I'm going to put this above the ground and I'm going to go at property. And I'm going to say type is results. And then I'm going to tool tip. Results here. And then I'm going to go public results. Result is a results. And of course, it added it right here. And we have it right here. So there we go. Now results is in. So if I go back to Cocos Creator and go back to the game control. Oh, whoops, forgot. Got to save it first. Okay, save it. Go back. It'll update it. Boom. There it is right there. And I can go ahead and I can add the results. I actually want it. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. So it should be there. Okay. Little bit weird. It should have been right about there, but it's fine. Don't worry. We got it right there. So what I can go ahead and I can just drag results right here. Bam. And we got results right here. Awesome. Good. All right. Now we can go ahead and we can have, let's go ahead and let's add points. Because how do we know if this is working without actually being able to test it? So what we're going to do is, while we're still here in game control, we're going to go ahead and use the init listener, and we're going to add the code to the init listener. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some keyboard ones, because it's easy for us to add keyboard. So I'm going to go input dot on, and then I'm going to say input dot on input dot event type dot key down this dot on key down this. Okay, so what the heck did I just do? Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, we don't understand what that is. So input is pretty much, I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to add them here. So what input does, if I go back here at input and input are the key parts. So input is the class or the alias, meaning it's supposed to be the whole class that manages everything input. And the input is just the smaller part of input that kind of tells it when there is a single input happening. So this is the thing that kind of does everything. It handles your touch, your mouse, your accelerometer, gamepad, everything. This input is just for a single piece. So we need to tell it, hey, input on, turn it on anytime there's a key down, and we're going to have it call key down and have this happen. So what this does is we're going to actually have to go into building key down, because we don't have a key down yet, because it is a new function. So what we're saying is, when there's a key down, go to this function and do this. And we're going to say it is a event keyboard. Okay. And it should come up here. It says event keyboard. We can have event keyboard. Okay. So what we're saying is the event is a keyboard event. So what we're going to do is go switch event dot key code. Now it's going to say it doesn't understand what key code is, and that's because it is another API key code. Okay. So event key code. Oh, forgot to add bah. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Everything's looking good now. Okay, so now I'm going to say this is a case of key code dot, which key is it? Key A. So what it's going to say is it's going to be of key A, and what I want it to do is go this dot game over. And we'll add game over later. Game over is going to be another one of these. We already have start game. We have initial download. So what I need to do quickly is I'll just add a game over call. Okay, and that will be fine. Okay, and then I need to break, because that's all I want it to do. Case key code dot key P. Yeah, I want to go with P. There we go. And what P is going to do is it's going to go this dot result dot, I want it to add to the score. Okay. Ooh. And then I want it to break. Oh, that's fine. I forgot to add. Oh wait, no, you don't put that there. I'm sorry. Case key code dot key underscore Q. There we go. I want it to this dot reset game. Okay. All right. And that's it. And of course we don't have reset game. We have game over here. And it's saying, no, there is no game over here. And I'm like, yeah, it's right here, guys. So it just hasn't figured it out yet. Okay. Well, it'll figure it out in a moment. But yeah, case eco. Okay. Yeah, I think it meant, is it this one? Yeah, there we go. Key code. Ah, I forgot to add that. Haha, that's why. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Now we got our switch all set up. So we have, okay. So when there's an event keyboard, it's going to say, it's going to go this, which is the event. It tells it, hey, check which key code it is. If it's A, do this. If it's P, do this. If it's Q, do this. It looks a little bit difficult, but I understand. But don't worry, it works out to help out. It'll help you out a lot in making sure things work. And also, now that you've done it once, you don't have to worry about doing it again. And you already understand how to do keyboard connections. Okay? Let's go ahead and we can do that and we can save it. Now, also remember, we're going to have to comment this out. So remember to comment this all out later on when you're finished with your game. Because do that, because what you're going to do is this will work for us for testing, but when the game is finally done, we're going to have to take this out, because then people could just keep hitting P button to get more and more points, which breaks your game. So this is just for testing. This is I should put that down here and just say testing method delete me in final version. Okay. All right. Now we know. Okay. I got to delete this guy. Okay. Let's go ahead. And now that we've got that, we can go ahead and look at game over. And what do we want to happen during game over? Well, what we want is we want this dot result dot show results. We want to show the results that we had. And we want the director to pause the game. And of course, it should add director at the top. If we haven't already, it has not. So let's just add it very quickly. Director, okay. So now it knows, okay, director, pause the game. Okay, great. Next, let's go into reset game, because we have the reset game here. So let's go into reset game. What do we want for the reset game? What we want is to go this dot result dot reset the score. And then we want this dot start the game, which takes us right back to start game, right up here. And so what do we want for start game? For start game, all we want is this dot result dot hide results. And we want it to have the director dot resume. We want it to resume the game. Okay. And there we go. We go ahead, and now all we have to do is have to tell it on the load. When we load it, we want init listener to be started. So this dot init listener, we want it to start at the beginning of the game. And we want this dot result to reset the score. And we want the director to pause the game, because we don't want the game to start when we just started. All right, so now we have everything set. Let's go ahead and let's save it. And let's go back here and let's save the scene as well. And let's go ahead and let's try it out. Usually when I do this, what you want to do is click on the bird to get it going, because you want to give focus to the game. And then I can go ahead and hit the A button, and the A button will end the game, and the Q button will start the game up again, and I hit the P button and it goes on. The only problem is it's not resuming, but that's because we haven't added one more thing. We need to go back and we need to, on load, we need to have, let's see here. Let's see here. On start game, the director should start. So why is it that the... All right, and then one more thing. I think I screwed up. I accidentally had to go back, and as you can see with the result resets game, I forgot to add the little brackets here and also right here to make sure that I have no problems. And so now let's go ahead and go back. I went ahead and saved it, went back, got that. Let's go ahead and save it. Let's jump. Now it's stopped again, but I can hit Q and there it goes. And I can hit P and add scores, and then I can hit A. Oh, try again. All right. Now we forgot one more thing. We need to actually, we have to show results, but if the results are not actually showing, so we have to show, let's see here. We forgot to, that's one of the things we forgot. We forgot to make sure that this dot high score dot no dot active is also true. All right. Now let's save that as well. Ooh, save that. All right, go back. Bam. Start it up again. Reset it. There we go. Start it. Pop, 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 pop. Well, high score is 8. Reset. Pop, pop, pop. Bam, 3. And the high score still is 8. All right. We got it. So now that we've got that taken care of, we can go ahead and go into the next part, which is the bird. Let's go ahead and we can start working on the bird and making the bird move up and down. Okay. Let's go ahead and start that. Okay, now that we've got all that taken care of, we've got the points done, we've got the ground moving, now it's time to work on the bird. The bird's going to be a little bit different and a little bit more difficult because we're going to be doing a lot of extra features and things that you probably have never heard of or done before with other game engines. So let's take a little bit of time to work on this and get it right. So let me go ahead and let's get into Cocos Creator. So now that we're in Cocos Creator, let's go ahead and let's go and add a bird script. So back again in scripts, we're going to create a new script. And we're going to call that bird. Okay. And of course, we're going to go right back into it. I'm going right back into the depths of code. Once again, deleting all of that for now. We may come back to it later. Right now, we need a couple of properties. Right now, we need a property that is, we need to know how high the bird is flying, or actually is kind of how high can he fly. So we're going to need a CC float because we're going to not use an integer. We're going to be using floats on this one. And then we're going to go ahead and tooltip. I'm going to say, how high can he fly, or they fly? We don't know what it is. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and I'm going to get out of that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add public jump height. And we're going to give that a number. And we're going to give that a number of, we'll go 3.5 for now. We can always change it later. And then we're going to give it another property. Same idea. I'm going to actually copy this one because why not? And we're going to go, how long can they fly? So this is actually not going to be the jump height. This is actually going to be the jump duration. Oh, no, just one. Jump duration. So how long can it jump? And we're going to change that one to, no, we'll keep it at 3.5 as well. Why not? We'll just play around with that later. All right, and so after we've got the CC float, let's go ahead and we can get the bird animation. We'll go public bird animation. And so that's what's going to happen is we're going to have the bird flying. And so we need to know the animation for it. So we need a temporary bird animation set up for it. We also need to know the public, let's see here, public, the bird location. Where is the bird's location? And that's going to be a vec3. And then you can go ahead and you can see we have a vec3 up here already. And then that's it for now. That's all we have to do for here in birds for right now. Let's save it for now. Let's go back to game control. And we're going to go ahead and add import bird from bird. And we're going to add the birds right here. So I'm going to go at property type bird. Oh, go away. Okay. Public bird is a bird. There we go. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go back into here. And you can see here we have a bird right here. So I can go ahead and I can put the bird right in there. Oh, I can't. Oh, that's because I haven't put the bird in here. What I got to do is put bird. And I got to drop this guy in here. And then we can go back into game control and I can put the bird. There we go. Now it has bird because it's looking for the component bird and it found it. So now we're fine. Okay. There we go. Now we're back on board. Let's go on and let's add, now that we got all that set, we can go ahead and let's go back into here and let's build a couple of other parts. We need to add a onload. So on load, what we want it to load is this dot reset bird. So what we want it to do is reset the bird, just like we did with the ground. We want it to reset the ground. Okay. And then this dot bird animation equals this dot get component dot animation. Okay. So what I want it to do is when we get an animation on it, it should look for the animation. So right now it's saying, hey, there's no reset bird. So let's quickly build that. Reset bird. So we don't have to worry about that. And then we'll work on the animation part after that. So what we want with the reset bird is we want to have this dot bird location. So where we want the bird to be when we reset the game, we want it to be at a new vec3 of 0, 0, 0. So we want it right at the middle. So if you look back at the game, the bird is at 0, 0. So we want it back there again. Okay. So we got that part done. And then we want this. So we have to go ahead and hit this dot node dot set position, just like the other ones. We want it to be this dot bird location. There we go. Now we have it reset. Now we have to go ahead and start working on the animation. To do that, we're going to have to add animation as an API. So I'm going to do that right now, so that we can get all that cleared up. There we go. Now we can go ahead and start working on it. So what we need to do is we need to add an animation to it. To do this, we're going to have to add an animation node. So first what I'm going to do is go back to Cocos Creator. Let's actually go to the bird and let's add a component. That actually might be better. So I'm going to go ahead and hide all this. I'm going to go add component, animation, animation. And now it's going to ask for an animation clip. So now we can go ahead and do that. Create a animation clip. And we're going to call this animation clip. Let's just call it bird animation. Okay. And then what we need to do is just go back to the bird, and it's going to ask us for the default clip, and we're going to just drag it on in. Now it's saying that it has one. You could have multiple clips put in. So for now, we're going to just do fly. But if you wanted to have like explosions, you could add another one with explosions. You could do a lot of other stuff with the animation. But for today, let's just set up with animation 1, just one clip. We also can have it play on load, but we don't want to play on load. We want to call on it to play. So that's good. Okay, now we can click on this animation button and it'll say, hey, come on in. So we can go ahead and come on in. And you'll see here we have a couple of interesting things here. We have a node list, a property list, and an embed track. So the cool thing is we could add multiple nodes to be we have multiple nodes using the same animation and having different things happen. But for now, we're just going to use the bird. And we don't have to worry about embedded player tracks. That's a little bit of a experimental thing on this. You can learn about that later. What we want to do is get on the property list, because the property list is going to change all the properties. And so what we want is we want to change the properties. Now, what we want to do is we actually want to change the sprite, because you can see here, the sprite we have now is the yellow bird up flap. So what I can do is I could click on this and I can go to the CC sprite and I can go, I want to change the sprite frame. So it's going to go, okay, what sprite frame do you have? And I say, right now, I want it at 0. And by the way, I'm going to change this so you can see it, because we're going to be using about, let's see here. I want to change this to 36 because it'll be about 36 steps. So for this first part, I want it to be the flap up. And as you can see, it has the flap up. Okay. Then after about, actually, no, I don't want the flap up. I want it to be mid flap actually. Oops. Let's go back. I want it to be mid flap actually, mid flap. Okay. Then what I can do is in about 6 flights, we can go here. I want it to go up flap. So it goes down and then, actually, no, I want it actually the other way. I apologize, guys. I want this to be up flap. I want this to be mid flap. And then I want this to be down flap. And as you can see, while I'm bringing these over here, it's doing this. So if I played this, you can see it's quickly played it. And then I want, if you hold the right click button, you can move this. So I want to move it a little bit. And then I want to add the mid flap. And then I want to move this to be the up flap. So if we look at it, you can see it's making the animation. If you look up here, when I push the play button, it's making the animation. Isn't that awesome? We just made some animation and it just took us a little bit of time. If you're used to making Flash videos or doing Flash, this would have been super easy. The great thing is that I can do the sprite frame, but I can also do other things. I can change the position, the rotation, the UI, the size. I can also change other parts, the height, duration. So you can do a lot of different things with it. There are a lot more things, such as events, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the save button and I'll save this animation and then I'm going to exit it. And there you go. Now I have my animation all set up. We can go ahead and let's go back and we can add the way we're going to have that animation play. And to do that, we're going to be doing something called a tween. A tween is a way of moving an object in a nice way. You probably have seen this with a lot of video editing software, where instead of having it go from one place to another place in a linear way, you can have it smoothly come in. Like you can have it come in and then smoothly finish. Or you can have it go very fast at the beginning, but then slow down at the end. We call it tweens. And so we're going to be adding a tween for this bird. so that it doesn't linearly just pop up. We want it to quickly go up, but then slow down at the end. And to do that, we're going to go ahead and add a tween, and we're going to go ahead and go into, we're going to build our own thing called fly. And that's going to be where we're going to hit that tween. So let me go ahead and let's get the bird animation going. So what we're going to do is we've already added the bird animation, but we want it to stop because we don't want it to start moving. Because we want it, every time we click on the button, we want it to start flying. So whatever animation is happening now, we want it to stop and then reset. I mean, because the flying is very quickly, players won't see this, but you have to be very careful when you're doing this for some places. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and let's add the tween. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the tween while I build it. So the tween, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the position of the node. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell it where to go. And to do that, we're going to be asking it to go .to. Okay. So I'm asking the tween, I want this node's position. And I'm going to go to, and where am I going to? I'm going to go to this dot, the jump duration. So when you look at the 2, it's going to ask, it needs a duration. It needs to know how what's it going to do. And then it needs to know what kind of properties. So it needs to know the tween time, the properties, and then any optional functions of the tween. And then some other parts that you don't have to worry about. Just these 3 things are going to be the most important things. So right now we have the jump duration. Remember, we added that up here. So we know the jump duration. So it needs to know the time, how long it takes. Now it needs to know where it's going to jump. So we want the new vec3. So we want it to be next vec3. So what it's going to be is it's going to be this dot nodes dot position dot x. So it needs to know the position of the x. Now we're going to be moving the y. So what we need to know is this dot node dot position dot y plus this dot jump height. So that's going to be the new place, and then 0 because we have no z. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay. And so now we know where it's going to go. So we know the beginning position, the ending position, how long it does, and now we can add how it's going to go that way. So I need to add an easing. So the easing tells it how it's going to go. And for me, I want it to be smooth. Now, there are many different types of easings. If I go into the definitions, I think here, it should be, oh, did I do it the wrong way? Yeah, I did it the wrong way. Yeah, it should be that way. So if I go into easing, oops, come on, you. Yeah, and if you can see here, there's easing, and these are tween easings. And if I go into the definition, you can see there are multiple different ways. We can have linear, smooth, fade, constant, quads. And we have a whole list. If you go into our documentation, you can find them. But for me, I'm going to just use smooth. And if you want to change it, you can go back in here, and you could change to fade or constant and just play with it. But for me, I'm just going to go smooth. And I need to add one more thing on update. Target vec3. You don't have to really worry about this part. This is just something that has to be done whenever you do an easing. It's just part. You have to add this special code. I know it's a little bit weird. This dot node dot position equals target. Okay. And that should be it. Bump, bump, bump. Yep. Okay, and then dot start. Okay, so what did I do? Okay, this is where we're gonna have some fun. So, so what I'm telling the tween is I want to change the position. Okay, now I can ask it, well, how do you want to do this? There are a lot of different parts to the tween. The to function tells it to go to a place. You can also use by, and that'll tell it by how far you want to go during the duration. So you can say, I want you to go this far. So instead of me saying directly where to go, you can say, just go 5, go to the Y position up 5. So I could have used by as well here. But if you want to, that'll tell it like go back to this position, but tells it where. There's also the dot start tells it to start. There's also another one called dot pause, which will let you pause it for multiple seconds or milliseconds. So if you want to pause your tween for a moment, you can do that. And then it'll go back to going again, which and you can also actually have multiple twos. So if I wanted to do this multiple times, I could. You just got to make sure that if you do that, you have to have a union, which means it'll put them all together. So if you're going to do more than just one of these, you need to have a union to put them all together as one small thing, and then it'll start. I'll have a video about tweens a little bit later, but just for now, know this. And then after that, after we start it, all we have to do is this.birdAnimation.play. We just need to play the animation. And that is it. That should be everything. Now we can go ahead and let's go back and save this. And let's go back to Cocos Creator. And let's go into the bird area. And I'm going to go ahead and hide that. I'm going to go back into bird, and I'm going to change the height to 200. I'm going to change the duration to 0.3. 0.3, not 2, 3. And there we go. And now we need some kind of finger to touch it, because right now we don't have anything to make it fly. So let's first save this, save the scene. Let's go back into game control, and we have the init listener already set up. So let's go ahead and let's just add another put into it. We go this dot node dot on, and we'll say node dot event, node dot event type dot touch start. So we're saying when somebody touches this, or when a mouse clicks, do this. Okay? So, comma. I'm just going to double check to make sure I've got the right code. Because you know me, I'm already screwing things up. I have to go back to my original code. Yeah. Comma this. And you go, okay, when this happens, call this stuff. Okay. I think that's correct. Yeah. And then, okay. So what do you want me to do? I want you to this dot bird dot fly. I think that's all I need it to do. Yep, that's all I need it to do. All right. Now it should float up. And also, when we have the key down to reset the game, we should also have it do this dot bird dot reset bird. Okay. Now, one problem. I said that when the key goes down on this node, well, we have an issue because this node is the scene, or it's game control. And as you can remember, game control only is this big as the blue square. So that's why I added the UI transform. It's so that I could actually add this. And we could, if I remembered the scene size, the canvas size, because I'm a dummy, 640 by 960. So 640 by 960. All right, now the size of the game control is the whole board. So let's go ahead and let's save the scene, play it, and we should see it working. It didn't want to work. So what did I do wrong this time? Well, let's go back. Let's see what I did wrong this time. No. I don't want anything about CDS. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I didn't save control. Ha. All right, let's try this again. It's been saved. Okay, let's try again. Ah, there we go. But we forgot to turn, we have a problem. The bird won't come back down. So let's go back down here, and we need to have the reset bird. Let's go back to the bird. We have to go back to reset bird location. Okay. So we haven't set the position correctly. So something, we haven't saved it. Okay. Now that we saved it, let's try again. We should. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now we've got it. Okay. So everything we did, just make sure you saved everything. And now you can see it's flown out very nicely. Yep, and now you can see we do have a little bit of problem. The animation isn't going all the way, but that's okay. We can fix that very quickly by just going back into bird, going into the animation area, and looking to see. It takes 0.3 seconds, so we need to move this over. Oh, it's on the 3rd frame. There we go. It should be on the 3. Okay, yeah, so everything should work. So we can just kind of move things around, make sure everything looks a little bit more even. And yeah, you can go ahead and do that, and I'll go ahead and save that, and hopefully it all looks much better. File, save scene. Okay, go back. Oops, not here. Go back here. Refresh it. And there you go. It looks awesome. Now we got everything kind of going. All right, let's go ahead and let's go back real fast. And let's go ahead and close this because we can't do anything until we close it. Now we can add components. We're going to go ahead and add a component. I've already hidden all these other components. We're going to add a component, and we're going to call it rigid body. And the reason we need a rigid body is because the rigid body is going to give it some type of gravity. It's going to give it some mass. So what we want to do is make it a dynamic. And by doing that, if I go ahead and I just save the scene, we go back to the game again, and we refresh it. Now, when I start it, he starts to fall. So now he's falling because of gravity. Of course, we have a problem. The gravity is way too hard, and also he just falls off the screen. So that's going to be a problem. So what we need to do is let's go ahead and go back in, and let's change the gravity scales a little bit. I'm going to give this a 2.3 so it's not as harsh, and give it a linear damping 2, and also a wake on load so that it starts when the game starts, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, let's go ahead and try again. Oops, go back here. Oh, Luke, come on. Okay, let's go ahead and let's save it, because we can change the gravity around here, and we don't want it to be a bullet. We also want to enable contact listener so that it's listening for the pipes, so that when it hits a pipe, it'll tell us. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save it one more time. Okay, now let's play it one more time. Hit Q to start it, and there we go. Much better. Of course, he can still fall on the ground, but it doesn't really matter too much. And if you don't like how it's flying, you can always change the fly, the duration, the height. You can also change the speed of the pipes, and you can also change how high he flies. It's all one of the great things about Cocos Creator is because we've already edited all of the script here for the jump height and the duration. We can just change it all here. We don't have to actually go back into the code to fix it, which is great. Because then, especially if you're working with developers or people who are not very good with code, you can already set up all the code for them and just say, okay, just fiddle with these to make sure they're working. And then it works. And there you go. All right, that's it for now. It's getting close to lunchtime. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break and go to lunch. And when I come back, we'll go ahead and we'll finish up with pipes, And then we'll finish up with sound effects, and I think we'll have a full game. We also have a little bit of logic, for example, when to hide this and when to click the button to start the game. But we'll work on all of that later. And then we'll have it all done, and you'll have your first game. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Hello, everybody. I'm back from lunch. I hope you had a great lunch as well. We're going to go ahead and we're going to continue going on with what we need to do, which is adding the pipes. So as you can see, I have myself all the stuff that we did a while ago. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a pipe. Now, instead of actually just adding the pipe, I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did with the ground, where I'm going to actually put the pipes inside of it. And you'll see why I do that in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this as pipe. Okay. And from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our pipes. Now, as you can see here, we have 2 pipes. So I'm going to put the first one in here. And you can see here, here's the pipe. And again, you can see the pipe is too small. So we're going to double the size again. So there it is. We are double the size. And so now it looks about the right size. So we've got 1 pipe. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to name this pipe. Go back here. I'm going to name this top underscore pipe. Okay. So we have our top pipe. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to call this one bottom pipe. Okay, there we go. So now we have ourselves a top pipe and a bottom pipe. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is with the top pipe and the top pipe and the bottom pipe, you can see here we have a sprite. And we're going to keep the sprite as pipe green, just in case, okay? And let me see here. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to take the bottom pipe because we see the bottom pipe is correct, but the top pipe is not. So I need to actually rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. And so as you can see now, it's the correct location for the top pipe. So that's what I want to do first. I want to get it to rotate it 180 degrees. Now we have another issue, is that I want both of these to come out at the same time, but also I want both the top and the bottom to be exactly at the same point. And the reason behind this is because what we're going to do with the pipes is we're going to make a gap that's going to be in between. And so what I want to do with the code is just say, hey, this is the 0 for both of them. I just want to add a specific random number that drops the bottom pipe that many steps or that many pixels. So what I want to do is to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the, we're going to go back here in the UI transform. We're going to change the anchor point again. So for the top pipe we have here, I'm going to change it to 1, 1. And for the bottom pipe, I'm going to change this to 0, 0. Okay. Now what that's going to do, I think, is it's going to make it so that both of these are exactly like this, and it's going to make it so that when I work on it, you'll see, it's going to make it work all perfectly. In fact, I'm kind of not sure why I did this, but I know it works. So just bear with me, okay? So now that we've got this all set up this way, and it looks a little bit weird, but trust me on it, we're going to go ahead and go back down to our scripts. And in our scripts, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a TypeScript material. And it's going to be a new component. And I'm going to call it pipes. And this is going to be our pipes controller. Okay. So this is what's going to be used to control our pipes. Actually, let's go ahead and actually get in here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean it up a little bit, just like we did with the other ones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the 2 properties. And of course, you can probably guess which ones these are going to be. This is going to be, if I go ahead and click on opening this is going to be type. What type is this? This is going to be a node because we only need to worry about moving the location. So we don't need to worry about what it is. And I'm going to go ahead and put the tooltip, which I should be doing for a lot of these, but I'm not. I'm going to go type the top pipe. All right, and then I'm going to call this public top pipe. Okay, and I'm going to make this a node. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and double this up again, just like I did with the first one. And I'm going to make this the bottom pipe. And I'll say right here, I want this to be bottom pipe. Okay, there we go. All right, now we can go ahead and let's make our temporary locations, just like we did with the other stuff. We're gonna go ahead and hit public. And sorry, we have people here working with me, so you might hear some of their stuff. We have we're gonna go temp start location up, and we're gonna give it a vec3. And we're going to say this is equal to a new vec3. We're going to give it the original place it should be. And we're going to say it's 0, 0, 0. Okay? And then we're going to say we want another public, and we want a temporary start location. And we want it to be down, the bottom one. And of course, we're going to do the same thing. Vec3 equals new vec3 0, 0, 0. Okay, so it looks exactly just like we had with the last one. But what we're going to do now is we're also going to do, like with the ground, of course. And we're going to do the same thing again with a scene. And we're going to have that equal to the screen dot window size. And of course, we don't have the screen size. This is another way we can actually find the screen of the size of the screen, is we actually can look at the screen, the window size. But to do that, we're going to have to go back up here, just like we did with the last one, and add vec3, like we did with the other one. And we're going to have to add something called screen. Okay? And there we go. Now we can have the screen's window size. And it'll actually give us the current window of the physical pixels, which is pretty much what we have right now. So that's an extra added better way of doing it than what we did with the director. Okay? The director probably is a little bit more extreme, but for this it's fine. Next, we're gonna go ahead and get the speeds of the game. So we're gonna go ahead and get the game. And I'm gonna get the pipe speed. We're going to give this a number. Okay, and so why do I have these three? So the first one is we're going to be actually grabbing the speed of the pipes from the game control. So this is why we're going to do this, is we're actually going to have a game, we're going to make a copy of game control. And with the game control, you can see here, we've already have pipe speed right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take that and transfer it into the pipe speed we have here. And I'm actually going to put it in the temp speed. And then what we'll do is we can go ahead and we can take the temp speed and multiply it by whatever we want to get the final pipe speed. So the pipe speed here is going to be the final speed of the pipes. And of course, this will be the temporary. Okay, so this will help us all get the speeds. All right. All right, great. Whoops, go back here. Okay, so now let's go ahead. We have three methods that we're going to have to need. Of course, we're going to need onload again, of course, and that's going to prepare us, we're going to give us the preparation for the pipes. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to have the initial position, and this is going to be where we want the pipes to be when they start the game. And so this is going to be the big one, because this is going to be the one that gives us the random locations of all the pipes. They all will be off screen, but we'll know how far the gap is, and we'll also know where the top and the bottom pipe are supposed to be within this one. So this is going to be the big one. We need this one a lot. And then finally we have the update. And the update, of course, is going to be giving us all the information about moving the pipes. That's actually going to be the thing that moves the pipes over. Okay? So these are the three things we're going to need. So let's go ahead and let's start with onload, okay? For onload, we just need three parts. Go this.game equals, and so what I want to do is I'm going to get the game control, but we have a problem here, because later on what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting the pipes into game control. But I also, so game control, you can see here, I'm going to import the pipes. The problem is when when I was working with this and I added pipes to game control, we had an issue because we were doing a circular discussion. We were kind of having like a circle where it's asking this for this and this for that. And it became a very strange and weird thing. And we can't do that in Cocos Creator. We can't make circular requests. So to get around this, because of how this is going to work, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually use something called find. And what find does is it says, hey, can you find me a part of the code and could you get it back for me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm going to find game control. So I want you to find the game control script. Okay, and it's going to go, okay, and I want you to get the component of game control from there, okay? And I want you to get the component game control. So what it's going to do is it's going to go into the code and it's going to go, oh, here's game control, grab game control, and it's going to actually put it in. So it's actually breaking the rules in a little bit where it's not actually requesting it because I can't actually import it because I'll be doing if I import it here, I'll show you real fast. If I go ahead and I import game control, so if I do this, and then if I go back here, which I'm going to do anyway, and I'm going to import pipes, you're going to see here we're going to have a big issue here in a moment. Also, it's going to say it doesn't know where find is, and I'll show you find. So like, let's say if I did this, and I said game control public game equals game control. You're going to have you're going to see here we have a huge issue right here. It's saying it can't find any of this. And it's because what we're doing is we're doing a circular rotation. And if we actually looked into the error codes, if we played this, you'd actually see in the error code of Google Chrome that there was a problem. See, like if you go here and I go motor tools and I go to developer tools, you're going to see here in the console, you'll see something that will say, hey, you have a circular issue. So this is why I can't do it like that. That just will not work. And this is why this way, I'm going to delete this because I don't need it, but I will keep it here because I'm going to come back to it anyway. This is how it works to make it all work out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'll add this dot pipe speed, which is going to equal, let me see here, this dot game dot pipe speed, because went ahead and we stole the pipe speed from game control, and this is going to be this dot init pause. So this is going to be the initial position, which we were just talking about here. This is the initial position. So when it does unload, what it's going to say is hey, now we have the pipe speed because we got it from the game, and then we're going to call init pause. And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. All right, here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to add, let's first start off with the locations, okay? Just like we did with the other ones, we got to make a temporary location. So this dot temp start location down, or up, we'll go up dot x equals, this time I got the x this time, this dot top pipe dot get component UI transform dot width. Okay, so that's how long is the top pipe, but I also want to put that a little bit behind, so I'm going to go plus this dot scene dot width. So what that's going to do is it's going to take the width of the scene. So if we look here, it's going to take the width of the scene plus the width of this to bring it back. So we'll bring it back around here so that it won't affect when it comes through. I could put it right here, but I'm a little bit worried. Last time I tried it, it started off like, whoops, go back. It actually started off like right here. And I was like, that's not going to work because you'll be able to, when it appears, you'll see it. So by doing this, I've got myself a lot of time to push it back. I could just do the scene. I could just do half of this width, but we'll just play it safe for now. I don't think my boss will worry about that. And then we also do the same thing, but this time let's do down. Oops. I'm going to copy that. And we'll go ahead and change this to down. So great, now we have both the pipes, the up pipe and the down pipe. All right, and these are both using UI transform, so make sure you have UI transform up here. Okay, now that we've got that, we can go ahead and we can start looking at the Y direction, which is going to be, so we have the X direction down, so we know they're going to start here, but now we need to know, are they going to start here? Are they going to start here? Or is it going to start here? We don't know yet. So what we need to do is we need to work on the Y. To do this, we're going to randomize it. So we're going to actually, this is one of the only times you'll ever do something outside of the CC class. I'm going to make a randomizer. So I'm going to make a const random, and I'm going to make it equal min max. And then I'm going to say I want to make a function that you make with it. And to do that, I want it to return a math.random times max minus min plus min. Okay, so this is the randomized idea. What we're going to do is we're going to randomize the math, and then we're going to multiply it by the maximum I want it to be and the minimum I want it to be. And I'm going to add the minimum just in case to make sure it doesn't go too far. Okay? And so that's going to work out really well. Okay. Now, because randomize will only do 0 to 999, we've got an issue because the Y could be pretty much from like 400 all the way down to minus 400. So that's not going to work out really well with our pixels when I was working on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by 10 to get what we want. So to do this, let's go back into the init pop, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go let the gap, I'm going to make a gap, and I'm going to equal it to a random, and it's going to be 90 to 100, okay? Now you might think that's not a lot, but trust me, testing this out, it's perfectly enough. And if you don't think it is, go ahead and edit. You can edit these numbers as much as you want. And because these numbers are constant, I don't have to worry about it. But if you wanted to, you could actually go back and make a property for these numbers as well. But we're going to keep it for here. I'm also going to let the top height, I'm going to have a top height, make sure I camel case this. I'm going to make that a random of 0 to 450. Okay. So I want it from 0 to 450. And I want, yeah. And like I said, random only goes up to 999. So I can't make these more than 999, which is not going to work for what we're going to do. Trust me, I've tried. Okay. I'm rambling again, but it's okay. We already know what's going on. Let's go ahead and go this start. Location up Y is going to equal top height. All right, and so what that's going to do is this is going to be our top height. So whatever the height is for Y, that's going to be our top height. Perfect. Next, this dot temp start location down is going to equal whatever the top height was minus, this is the gap, and I'm going to multiply it by 10. And there we go. Ooh, let's see here. That's why. Top up dot Y. I'm missing my dot Y's again. Okay. There we go. Now that's why. Okay. Let me see here. Am I having an issue? Math.random. Let's see here. Am I missing anything here? Yeah. I'm forgetting the... That's why. Huh. Oops, sorry. Okay. So let's go ahead, and I think that is it for here. Yeah, I think that is it. Oh, no, we got to go ahead and put the new temporary locations in. This dot bottom pipe dot set position. Oh, not set position is temp. Start location down. And then do it again for the top pipe. Dot set position. This dot temp start location down, not down, up. Okay. And there we go. Now we have our initial position. So now we have our, we know where the X is going to be, which is going to be behind the scene. And we've already created the Y location. So now we know where the Y is. So we know it's going to be wherever the top height is. And we're going to take the top height and we're going to subtract whatever the gap was times 10. And that should come up. Now, we went ahead and we've got the locations, but for testing purposes, we need to check to see if they're actually working. So we need to start working on the update. Okay. Also, before we do the update, let's go ahead. Let's go into the update and let's build something interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do the scoring because we already just finished the scoring. So why don't we just do that? So up here, I'm gonna go ahead and add is pass a Boolean. And a Boolean, if you guys don't know that yet, is, you should, it's just a true or false. So what I'm going to ask for it to do is go if, in the update, if this dot is pass equals false, and this dot top pipe dot position. Now you might be asking me what is going on here. Why am I doing this? Because I bet if you're not, I don't know, you probably are already figuring out how to do this already. But what I'm doing is when I tested this and I just had if this top pipe position is less than 0, give it a point. And what happened was every time the pipe kept going backwards, I kept getting more and more points. And I was like, why is that happening? I was like, oh, it's because I only needed to do it once. So when I go ahead and I hit the Boolean, what I can do is I can go ahead and I can say, when we load it, we can go ahead and say that the is pass equals false. I could just say it's false. Okay. And so when it starts, we know it's false and I don't have to worry about it. Let's go ahead and hit this and be smart about it. There we go. There we go. So I can say this is pass equals false when it starts. So now if it is false and it hits the top pipe, the first thing I need to do is make sure that this dot is pass equals true. And so now it will only give me 1 point. So it'll only be false one time. Then I can go ahead and I can go this dot game dot pass pipe, and I haven't made this yet. So we need to go back into game control and we're going to actually have to add a new part. We're going to have to add pass pipe. So I'm going to go ahead and go pass pipe. And then we're going to have to go into pass pipe and we're going to have to go this dot result. And we're going to have to say add score. So now we have it set up so now that we can get a score. So instead of having to push the P button to get the score, we can already get the pass pipe from the pipe.ts. Pretty cool, huh? All right. Let's go back in here and let's go ahead and do one more thing. Once this actually is passing the pipe, what we want it to do is this dot destroy. And what this does is it actually will destroy this node. So this is kind of the weird thing you're going to be looking at. It's like, wait, why do I want to destroy it? Well, what we're going to do a little bit later is we're actually going to create multiple pipes so that you can go ahead and you can have a pipe that comes over and over and over again. Pretty crazy. And then when they're done, you can destroy them. So, and why we want to destroy them is because we want to keep our memory low. If you don't destroy them, then you're going to just continue to keep them having them. They're going to just keep going. If you see here, going to go keep further, and they'll never go away. And, you know, for this kind of game, not a big issue. But, you know, once we start getting into some very high level games, it's probably a good idea to destroy your stuff, because your memory will get higher and higher, and it'll get the phone warmer and warmer. And then people who have too hot a phone will not want to play your games anymore, and they'll delete them. So that's a big no-no. What we want to do is we want to keep our memory very low. And one of the ways we can do that is by destroying these pipes. So I'm going to go ahead and destroy them. Okay, and then we got one more thing I want to do is I want to go ahead, and now that we've got that set, I want to go ahead and go this dot. Actually, I want to put that right above this. We're going to put that at the bottom. So now I want to do is I'm going to go this dot temp speed equals this dot pipe speed times delta speed. And you'll remember, or delta time, and you remember I try to have a delta time up here when it has to do with work, with updating. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a temporary location, temp start location. And I'm going to equal that to this dot bottom pipe dot location or position. And of course, I'm going to do the same thing again for the bottom one. Oops, go back. We'll go ahead and put that as the top. I go, this dot temporary location down minus equals this dot temp speed. And then we're going to do it one more time. This dot temp location up equals, or minus, come on, and minus equals this dot temp speed. And then we're going to place the new position. This dot bottom dot set. Actually, why don't we just go ahead and copy this sucker. And there we go. And then we can go ahead and, as you can see here, now that we've got the movement down, we got the position down so that we can get some scoring. So that's it. We have done all that we need to do for pipe. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and let's go back into Cocos Creator, and I'm going to go back into pipe. And from pipe, I'm going to go ahead and drop the pipes. There we go. So now we have the pipe script. Now I'm going to do something, it should have the script, and it should, oh, and of course I haven't saved it yet. So let's go ahead and let's save it. And then it should come back. There we go. There are in the nodes. So I'm going to go ahead and put the top pipe here, and I'll put the bottom pipe here. And there we go. Now everything is working perfectly. Now we're going to do something a little bit weird that you probably haven't done is prefabs. So what these are is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it into the prefabs folder. And what that does is if you look here, it's added something called a pipe prefab. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And be like, wait, we did all that work. And it's like, no, don't worry. The pipe prefab, actually, if you double click on it, it has all of our stuff already here. So you can see here we have all of our stuff. Now, of course, you can lock it, but I don't want you to lock it. But you can see here, it's all here. And I can move it and do whatever I want. And if I like it, I can save it. But remember, you can't go anywhere else in this until you hit the close button. I can go ahead and save, and it will come back. And now the prefab is saved. Now, what I want to do with the prefab is I actually want to bring in the prefab whenever I want to. And this is why I was doing all of this, is I wanted to get to something cool that we haven't done yet. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something called a prefab. Actually, not prefab, a node pool. And what a node pool not a dead pool, a node pool, is it'll allow us to actually create, or in the words, instantiate a node whenever we want. So this is going to be the cool part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, in the canvas, I'm going to create a new node, and I'm going to call it pipe pool. Okay. And so what pipe pool is going to do is it's going to be the one that's going to be controlling the pipe prefab. To do that is I'm going to build another script. I got to go back into scripts, and I got to create another script. And then this new script is going to be called pipe pool. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's open it up. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import pipes from pipe, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and clean it up because we're going to be using the pipes in this, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to first ask for a component, and this component, or not component, property. Come on, Luke. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a type, and this type is going to be a prefab. And so you can kind of guess what's going in here. Of course, it's going to be the public prefab pipes. And for now, I'm just going to have it null. I don't want it to be anything right now. Okay. And then I'm going to add a property. I'm going to add type node, and go ahead and do this correctly. Yes, yes. Okay. And this is where the new pipes are going to go. So it's pipe pool home. This is the new home for the pipes. Okay. Now, make sure you also have the prefab come up here at the top. Okay, you want this alias because it's not going to understand what a prefab is unless you tell it's a prefab. Okay, great. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start building the pool. So first I'm going to go public pool equals new node pool. And as you can see, I've also built a node pool up here. Okay. And I'm going to see, what is this? Oh. Ah. I'm always doing this. I'm glad I get caught. .x. Always remember to save your stuff and make sure everything's working out. That's why it's great to have this Visual Studio Code. It tells you where your problems are. I'm going to get in trouble with myself doing this all the time. Okay, let's go ahead and let's keep going. Let's go ahead and let's create a Actually, let's go ahead. Actually, I'm not going to do that right now. Let's go ahead and let's look at, we don't really need any, we don't need any kind of things other than some methods. So we can pass the other part. So let's go ahead and let's look at our methods that we're going to need. We're going to need 3 of them here. We have the init pool, and this is the initial pool where we're going to start, where the starting of the node pool system. This is where we start off, just like we do with all the other ones. We also have an add pool. And what the add pool is going to do is it's going to add more items to the pool. And then we have a reset. And the reset is going to, all it's going to do is it's going to reset everything back to normal, just like we have with other things. You know, with the bird, we have a reset bird, and we have results. We have a reset, the reset score. So we need to have a reset here as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's get into the init pool and look into this one. What I want to do is let's go ahead, and what I was trying to do was add an initial count. And the initial count is going to be how many things do we want in the pool. And for me, I just want 3 items in the pool, because there won't be, if you look at our example back here, if you look at our example, there are only 2 in a scene at a time. So if I have 3, I should be okay, because if 1 is gone, I can have the next one coming. But we won't be doing that right now. We're going to be doing 1 at a time. If you want to do 2 at a time, you can, for example, if I wanted, instead of having this destroy, we can have it keep going. Well, actually, we could have destroy, but we could have a time where, I think in this one I have it where once it's destroyed, a new one is created. But I could change that around a little bit later. But for now, let's keep this. All right, let's keep going. And I'm rambling, of course, as always. For let I equals 0. So we want I to equal 0. And I is less than the init count. I plus plus. Of course, everybody should know this one. If you don't know this, then you're a bad programmer. Let create pipe. So I'm going to create a pipe equal instantiate. So this is the first part every time you've heard this before, instantiate. So instantiate pretty much means create a node from a prefab. That's all it does. Is instantiate means make a node from a prefab. This is perfect because we do have a prefab. We have the prefab that we made right here. We have pipe as the prefab. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be instantiating it, and we're going to put this dot. What are we going to be instantiating? We're going to be instantiating prefabs, which is our prefab. And of course, you see here we have instantiate up here as CC. Okay. So once it does that, that's great. Also, I want to make sure that we want to have one at the beginning. So if I is 0, then this dot pipe pool home dot add child create pipe. So what's this doing? So what it's saying here is it's saying that for the node pool pipe home, I want you to add a node child. Because when I instantiate it, that doesn't mean that it is going to be on the screen. It's just been made. To put it actually on the screen is I actually need to make it a child of something. Now I could make it a child of the canvas. I could make it a child of the ground, but let's just keep it with the pipe pool. And you'll see it's just easier for that. And so we're going to say, hey, add the child to the pipe pool home. And the pipe pool home is going to be pipe pool. Okay? So if we have 0 pipes out on the screen or in the beginning, go ahead and add 1 to the screen. And it's going to go ahead and add 1, and then it's going to instantiate 2 more. Okay? And so we're going to say if, we're going to say it's that. If it's not that, then what I want you to do is I would like you to go ahead and this dot pool dot put and then create pipe. And so what the put does is it's going to go ahead and if it's not the first pipe, I want it to put it into the pipe pool. So it's going to put it on the top of the list. So we have 1 pipe already coming out, and we're going to have, as you can see here, we have 3 as our initial count. That means it's going to take 2 more. Or actually, it's probably, 0, 1, 2, 3, So what it's going to do is it's going to take 2 more, and it's going to actually put it in a queue. And what the queue, and so those queue is going to be there. And then when it's ready, and then what's going to happen is once they're in that queue, we can go ahead and take them out later. Because right now we're just initializing the pool. So we're just getting it ready. So when we go ahead and we hit the add pool, what's going to do is it's going to push out 1 of them by adding it as a child. And then it's going to go ahead and put a new one in the pool. And so every time we instantiate it, if you go back to our pipes, it's going to go ahead and it's going to initialize the randomness that we have for the top height. So we should have random pipes coming out. Okay? I know it's a little bit crazy, but trust me, it's going to look awesome. Now we'll go ahead and we can get into the add pool. So what I'm going to do, okay, we're going to go if this dot pool, and I'm going to say the pool because we've already added things. We're going to look at the size of the pool. So what's the size of the pool? If it is greater than 0, meaning there are more than one item in the pool. If there is, fix myself. Okay, if there is, I'm going to this dot, I'm going to create a new pipe. So I'm going to get the new, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to get from the queue the latest one, and I'm going to put it in this dot create pipe. Okay. And actually, I could just do ahead and, well, we could put it right here, but it's okay. We can have it right here. Wait, well, it looks like it's not going to let us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go this dot create pipe, and I'm going to go ahead and put that right here and go public create pipe. There we go. That fixed it. I think, let me see here. Yeah, and then this is going to be this dot create pipe. We can go with this dot create pipe. That's fine. Okay. That looks a lot better. All right, and then we go ahead. Okay, we have add pool. Okay, else. So if we have more than 0, grab the last created prefab and put it in create pipe. And then what we'll do is we will go ahead and push the pipe. Else, if we have no more items in the pool, then that means we need to go ahead and we need to build a new okay. Now I could go ahead and I actually could just do the put again and do all that, but because this game is pretty simple, we can just do this and just create them at will. So we have an initial pool, but after the game is started, we don't have to have a pool anymore. We can just keep initiating it. And then of course we're going to go ahead this pipe pool home dot add child this dot create pipe. Okay, so there we go. And that's it for the add pool. Finally, the reset. Very simple. When we want to reset the game, we just go this dot, oops, not terrain. This dot pipe pool home dot remove all children. And so what I'm doing is I'm telling pipe pool home, hey, take all your children out. I don't need your home I don't want any of your children. What that does is, so what we're going to do is we're going to put all the pipes here. So when I stop the game resets. I want you to clear out or delete all of your children. So all the nodes that are your children, I want you to delete them all. I want you to clear out the pool. And then I want you to initialize again. And so it'll just do this thing all over again. Okay? And that is it. We can go ahead and save that. I can save that. I'm going to go back here and we're going to go ahead and holding on to pipe pool. I'm going to grab the pipe pool. I'm going to put it in here. And it's asking, okay, pipe pool home. That's going to be this guy. And the prefab pipes are going to be our pipe. And there you go. You can see, nope, not going to work. That one, yeah. There we go. We have our prefab. And there we go. We have that all set up. Now we can go back into the control node, game control. And we need to add the pipe pool. So I'm going to go ahead. Ooh, am I in the right place? Oh, no, not in the pipe pool. I'm incorrect. I don't want that here. I am wrong. I'm going to remove that. I'm actually going to put it in game control. That actually will work a lot better. So pipe pool here. Go ahead and hide this to make it, okay. And then I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, I want pipe pool as the home, and I want the pipe here. There we go. And so now this node is going to be the one who does all the work, but all the items are going to be going into the pipe pool. Okay? All right, very good. All right, let's go ahead and let's go back into game control, and let's go ahead and let's add the pipe pool. I don't actually need pipes because pipe pool is taking care of pipes. You can see here, pipes are in pipe pool. So I just actually need to add, if I go back to here, I just need to import pipe pool and everything should be good. And then I can go ahead and go in here and I'll add at property type pipe pool, and then I want it to be a public pipe queue, and that's going to be a pipe pool. Okay, so there we go. Now we have a pipe pool. Go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to go into game control. We can hide that and go back to game control. We'll see we have a pipe queue, and I can go ahead and put game control right on in here. Actually, no, pipe queue. No, we're actually going to put game control because it's going to be the one who's going to be doing all the action because it has the pipe pool right here. Okay. Let's see here. Now we can go ahead and let's go into back here. Let's go back into the reset. And we can go ahead and add the pipe queue before we do the start game. Want to do that. So this dot pipe queue dot reset. And there you go. Now the pipe pool reset will be set up and will be called when it is resetting the game and before we start the game. Beautiful. All right. Now, let's go back and let's see here. One last thing. We need to add a create pipe to game control because remember we did say we need to create pipes. So we need to have some way of adding because we haven't added to the pool. So we need to call on adding the pool. So to do that, we're going to have to make a new thing. We have a pass pipe. Let's go ahead and add a create pipe. And we'll have a create pipe clause here. Go this dot pipe queue dot add pool. Okay, there we go. All right, and then we need to go ahead and ask it to create, let's see here. Okay, let's go back here. I forgot one more thing. Remember in pipes, we added something here called pass pipe. If this dot top pipe dot, I should actually, come on, let's do this the correct way. If this dot top pipe dot position dot x is less than 0 minus this dot scene dot width. So If it's passed and it's gone past the width, what I want it to do, oh, that's where I want it. I don't want it to be destroyed here. I would like it actually. I actually want it to destroy here. Ah, yeah. And I want it to go this dot game dot create pipe. There we go. So I want it to create a new pipe, and then I want it to destroy the node. Just like I said, I actually don't want it to do it here because that means it would destroy it after it passed the pipe, which would be a bad idea. You don't actually want it to destroy. Okay? So let's go ahead and we can save this, and we can save this. And if I'm correct, I think that's it. We can go ahead and save it. Yeah, everything should be good. Let's go ahead and save the scene. And if I am correct, we should be able to just push the Q button, and there they are. And as you can see, I might be a little bit off, but you can see, oh, it's working. Isn't that awesome? All right, so we still haven't got hit detection yet, but you can see that the pipes are going through in and out. And of course, like I said, you can kind of play around. I can go ahead and go back into pipes and play around with the gap or the top height. Maybe 450 is a little bit too much. Maybe do 500. But for now, I think that's going to be enough for us for this. All right, so now let's go ahead and get to our next part, which is hit detection. So for hit detection, we're going to have to add a new hit detection items. Now, of course, we have ourselves the pipes. They're going to be hit detection, but we also need to have the grounds. Now, I could put one on each of these grounds, but I actually don't want to because the issue is the bird is only going to go up and down, so I don't really need one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create an empty node, and I'm going to call it ground trigger. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to call this one sky trigger, because another thing we're having an issue with is that the sky, what I could do is if I was really cheap, I could just have the bird fly all the way to the top and just keep them at the top forever. But I don't want them to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the ground trigger, and I'm going to have a sky trigger. And what I'm going to do is with these, I'm going to actually add something. I'm going to add a rigid body to it. So now it has a rigid body. I'm also going to add something else to it. I'm going to add a physics 2D. And what the physics 2D is going to do, actually I'm going to give it a box collider 2D. Okay. So first off, what I want to do is I want to make sure that this doesn't move. Because right now, as you can see with the bird is, if we go down to its rigid body, it's dynamic, meaning it has mass. And I don't want that to happen with these triggers. I don't want to give them mass. So instead, I'm going to change their rigid body from dynamic to static. And that means they have no mass now. So they won't fall due to gravity. They will just stay where they're at, which is perfect. Now with the box collider, what I can do is I can actually click on this editing button, and I've got it as a box collider because it's going to be a box. If I open it up, you can see I have a green box. And so now I can move this box, and I'm going to move it right above the screen. Okay, and so now if the bird hits it, we have a trouble. What this is going to do is it's going to enable contact listener. I'm going to enable the contact listener. And now whenever this bird hits this collider, it's going to tell me, oh, that's for the ground. I'm sorry. Let me do that for the sky. Let me drop the ground one. For the ground, I'm going to go ahead and edit ground. Okay, I'm going to edit. I'm going to, come on you. There we go. I'm going to drop it right here for the ground. And then for the sky, same thing. I'm going to add a rigid body, and I'm also going to add a box collider. Okay. I'm going to enable it. And I'm going to move it up. There it is. And then I'm going to make sure it is enabled for contact listening and also going to make it static. There we go. Okay. So now we have our colliders. We have a ground collider and we have a sky collider. So now he can't go up and down and he'll hit something. All right. Now we need to give a collider to the pipes. So let's go back into our pipe prefab and we can go ahead and click on the top pipe and we're going to go ahead and we're going to give it the same things. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll hide all this. I'm going to add a rigid body. And of course I'm going to make it static because I don't want the pipes to fall. I did that one time and it was hilarious. And then I'm also going to give it a box collider as well. So if I go ahead and I'm also enabling contact listener, I'm going to go ahead and edit just to make sure it's hitting the whole thing. And this is the cool thing. You can have, you can go ahead and you can edit these to whatever you want. So if there is something special you want that you don't like it as this is, you can change it. And you know, we have a box colliders, but if you go in here and I actually show you when I actually get into rigid body, I want to enable static. When I go into the physics of 2D, I'm sorry, not physics. We go into colliders. If I look in the colliders, you'll see here we have different types of colliders. We have box colliders, circle colliders, and polygon colliders. So if I gave it a polygon, you can actually give it multiple points. And I could give it all different points. And already it knows where the things are looking at the product or looking at the pipe. But for now, I'm just going to give it a box collider. Instead, what I'm going to do is, and we can see here, everything's good here. I'm going to go ahead and save it and close it. I'm going to go back to the bird, and I'm going to actually give the bird a collider as well. You can see I've also got an enable, but it's dynamic like we did last time. I'm going to actually give it a circle collider. And so now when I open it, you can see here, it's got a little circle. So I can go ahead and I can change the circle a bit and give it a little bit of a circle. I'm going to try to get as much of it as possible. I think that's good enough. I think players will be happy with that. Actually, whoops, not the bird. I want the collider. I want the collider to move. Okay, so I'm going to move it myself. There we go. There we go. So now it's right there. We got ourselves the collider. So I'm going to stop editing it. And there we go. We have our collider. So now if this circle hits these triggers or the pipes, they're going to hit and they're going to have some kind of collision. All right. And also let's make sure everything's edited. This is correct. This is correct. Okay. All right. Now we can go ahead and let's open up game control and let's add a couple of APIs to help us with collisions. So I'm going to go back into game control and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to add 3 new APIs that'll help us with collisions. We're going to need contact 2D type. We're going to need collider 2D. And we're going to need iPhysics 2D contact. These are the 3 we're going to need to do the work we're going to have, okay? Now we're going to have to add 2 more methods that we haven't added yet. The first one is on, contact ground pipe. And so what this is going to say is, hey, did it contact the ground or the pipe? So see if there was. And then if there is, we're going to do an on begin contact. We're going to call this, so say, hey, did it hit it? If it did, call this, okay? So this is what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and open this one up. And with on contact, we're going to go let collider. We're going to make a new collider. Collider equal this dot bird dot get component. And we're going to get the collider 2D. Okay? And so this is going to be the collider. This is going to be the one. This is the thing that reads collisions in 2D. Okay? Next, we're going to say if collider we're going to have the collider turn on. And we're going to see if it hit anything. So to do that, we're going to ask for the contact 2D type. And we're going to figure out when did it contact it. And we have a lot of different ones. We have begins contact, when it finishes contact. And we have some other ones that you really don't need to know. But I think what we'll do is we'll just do begin contact. So when it first hits the item, what do I want it to do? I want it to go to on begin contact. Okay, and then that's it. And it's going to go ahead and start this up. So if there is some kind of contact between the bird and other items, I want it to go and do this. So on begin contact, I want it, it's going to ask for a couple items. First, I need it to tell it hey, this is a collider 2D item. What's the other collider? What was the other thing that was collided? It was another collider 2D item. And the contact was either iPhysics 2D contact, or it was null. Okay. Don't ask me how, but this works. This is great. It works according to the instruction manual. I'm going to go this dot bird dot hit something equals true. And then what is hit something? And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a Boolean, and we're going to go ahead and, as you can see, it says bird dot hit something. So I'm going to go back into bird, and I'm going to add a new thing. I'm going to make a public hit something, and we're going to make it a Boolean. So what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and when we reset the bird, we're going to say that this dot hit something. Did it hit something? We're going to go no, it didn't, because we just reset, so it's false. Okay? So if it hit something, it's false. But if it did hit something, it's going to become true. And if it's true, we're going to have to do some stuff. And so let's go back into the control.ts. We're going to go back into control.ts, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to build two more parts. We're going to hit bird struck. Did the bird hit something? And we're going to be looking at this. This is one of the things we'll be looking at when we update. We're going to go this dot contact ground pipe. It's going to call on this item and say, hey, check the collider to see if anything hit. After it does that, it's going to go if this dot bird hit something equals true, then this dot game over. And there you go. Now we know where the game over is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be right here? And then it's going to show all the things. So if it hits something, it's game over. If it's still false, nothing happens. All right. Oh, we can go ahead and build an update. We haven't built one yet. And now we're going to add a little bit of logic to this. And this is called is over. All right. So now we have an update. So every time there's a new frame, it's going to ask if this is over. And if it is, then check. If it's not over, if the game's not over, it's false, then the bird struck. And why I'm doing this is over. The reason is we want to make sure that when it's over, we can go ahead and start the game over process. But if it's, because remember, we have all of this stuff that's supposed to happen with the game over. But we don't want the game over to happen until we're ready. Also, we want it so that when you click on it, it knows that it's not game over and it's going to restart the game. So this kind of goes back to the idea that we're going to be doing with the bird.fly. We don't want it to fly the bird after you've been hit. So what we want it to do is we want to do a little bit more information about this. So before we do any of that, let's go back up here. And we're going to make a is over Boolean. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the is over in a couple places. So on load, we're going to say that before the director's pause, we're going to say this dot is over equals true, meaning it's true. So don't move anything or don't do anything. Then we're going to go to the game over. And we're going to go ahead and hit this dot is over equals true. And then in the reset game, we're going to have this dot is over equals false. So it knows that the game is not over. And so what's going to do, the reason we do this is because now when I do the initial listener, I can do this really cool thing. I can go on the touch start. This is going to be really fun. Watch this. If this dot is over equals true, meaning the game is over, I want you to do this. I want you to reset the game. This dot reset game. I want you to reset the bird. This dot bird dot reset bird. And I also want you to start the game. Okay, and that's what I want you to do if the game is over. But if this dot is over is false, then I want the bird to fly. And there we go. Now we've got it, everything all there. So now we have it set up so that if the bird, now the bird is going to fly. If the game is not over, but if it is over, it's going to reset everything. So now we don't need this stuff right here. So I can go ahead and start. Yeah, there we go. I can go ahead and finalize that part because we don't need it. Because now we have all this set up. So let's go ahead and save and save. And if everything is correct, and I've done everything the right way, if I hit play, there it is. All right. Well, we have one issue. It's hitting it, but it's not doing anything. So I've got to, let's go back. Oh, that's why. Because I shouldn't have this because I've already hidden all that. So let's save that and let's try again. Oh, see, now he won't do that. So now we need to have it so that it's game over. And everything's all screwed up now because I did that. Let me go ahead and let's go look at what I did wrong. Okay, I found out what I did wrong. I forgot to add ellipses right here in the game over. So once I added the ellipses, I can go ahead and go back in here, hit play, and you can see here, bump, lost. Try again, boom. Now we got the, oh. But now we have them doing that, which probably is not right. So I may have to change from a rigid body to a kinematic. We'll see if that works. We'll see if that helps. Nope, that's not what we want. We want to be dynamic. Okay. So what I probably need to do is I probably need to fix how I did the pipes. Ah, see, it's wrong spot. Bottom pipe needs to be right there. That could be one reason. Top pipe, bottom pipe. Okay, that's fine. Save, close. Try it again. There we go. See, now it's working perfectly. There we go. Now we got it. Now we just one more thing and then we're all done. And that's audio. We need a little bit of special effects or sound effects actually. So let's go ahead and let's get into that right now. So back in Cocos Creator, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go back into, we don't need to be in the canvas because the canvas is for all the seeing things. So instead I'm going to go back into the scene and I'm going to create two nodes. I'm going to create one called audio control. And what this does is it's going to be the one in charge of controlling the audio. I'm going to go right here. And then I'm going to also make another one, and I'm going to call this one audio. So the audio is going to be where all the audio files go, and the audio controller is going to be the one that actually controls how they're played. Okay, so now we got to go ahead and we're going to have to add a new script. So once again, create, oops, I'm going to make sure I'm on it. Go ahead and create new TypeScript, and we're going to call this bird audio. There we go, and let's go ahead and get in. Okay, so for this one, we're going to need two APIs, only two APIs, thank goodness. We're only going to need two. Oops, come on. I'm going to need audio clip and audio source. Okay, so what audio clip does is, so we're going to need audio clip and audio source. So what audio clip does is that's where all the array of clips are going to go, is it's going to go into the audio clip. And the audio source is actually going to be the thing that actually plays the audio. So what we need is we need two parts. We need at property. We need two properties. Type. We need audio clip, and we're going to make it an array because there's going to be an array of them. So I'm going to go ahead and say public clips is audio clip. And we're making it nothing right now. We're going to put nothing in it right now. And then we're going to also add an audio source. We're going to make it an audio source, and we don't want it to be null. So we're going to say no, no null. Okay, and that's it for now. Let's go ahead and save this guy, and let's go ahead and put it back in here. And we're going to drag audio source into the audio control, this bird audio into audio control. And now it's going to say, where's the audio source? And we're going to say the audio source is going to be, I believe audio source is going to be audio. Well, we don't have that yet, but that's okay. We'll work on that in a minute. What I want to do is I want to add all the clips. And if we look here, if we look at all the audio we have here, so we can hide all the other stuff. We don't need the bird or the background or the fonts or the ground or the pipes or the scene. We need the audio, and I haven't added the audio yet. So let's go ahead and we can go in here and let's create a new folder. I'm going to just make that audio. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the audio sprites that I want. And I want die. I want hit. And I need a point and I need a wing. Or actually not the wing, a swoosh for the flap, I believe. Let me check. Okay. I'll just get the swoosh and a point and a hit. I'm going to put that in there. There we go. We got all of our audios in here. And if you wanted to, you can always check on them right here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back here and I'm going, oh, not back here. I'm actually going to go back to audio control and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask it for I want 4 clips. And it's going to ask you for audio clips. For 0, I'm going to put swoosh. For 1, I'm going to put point. For 2, I'm going to put hit. For 3, I'm going to hit die. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hit the audio here, and we're going to add audio source right here so that it could become an audio source because it's asking for an audio source. And we're going to keep this blank because we're actually going to be dumping all the audio clips from the audio controller. So if we go back to audio control, all we have to do is just drag audio here, and there we go. Now it has it as the audio. Okay. Great. Now we need to go back into audio TIA, the bird audio. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to build one. Yeah, we're going to build only one part. We're going to add a number. We're going to go let clip audio. Oops. Oh, what's clips? Yeah. Here we go. So this is where all the clips are. It's going to be here. And so I want a single clip. So I want the clips to be in audio. Okay, so let audio clip equal this dot clips dot, and then I'm going to ask for the index. So now I just says, okay, make the clip the audio clip that we have in the set audio source dot play one shot. And when play one shot just means just play it once. And then I'll ask for which one do you want? I want the clip. So what this does is now what it's going to do is it's going to go into the audio clips. And if I say, hey, I want clip 0, it's going to go, okay, oh, this one, I want you to load that into the clip. And I'll go, okay, now we have the clip, which is now an audio clip. Now I can tell the audio source, hey, play this clip. And of course, audio is going to have this. So it's going to put the clip into here, and then it's going to play it. All right, and there we go. Everything should be working. Now we need to go ahead and go back into game control, and we need to go ahead and put all this into the different places. So import bird audio. And then we need to add a new type property. All right, let's see here. And then we can go ahead and save this part. Go back into Cocos Creator. Go back into game control. It's going to come up with asking for the bird audio. We're going to go ahead and put the audio controller in here. There we go. Now we can go ahead and start putting these into the places we want it. So if we go back into the control, what we're going to do first is go into bird.fly. So if we go into bird, let me see here. Oh, no, not back. Go back here. We're actually going to save that. Let's go back into the initial listener. And we have here bird.fly. So after it's flying, what I want it to do is go this dot clip dot on audio cue. I want it to play 0, which is the swoosh. Next, we can go to add score. Let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry, pass pipe. Pass pipe, there we go. After add score, we can go ahead and hit this dot clip dot on audio cue 1. That's the point. Oops, wrong one. Then we can go ahead and go to on begin contact. So we have here this dot true hit something. We can go ahead and hit this dot clip dot on audio cue. So if it did hit something, it will play the hit sound. And then when it's the game over, we can go ahead and before it is true, before we pause, we can go ahead and hit this dot clip dot on audio cue. And there we go. And that should work. So now, okay, so now let's go ahead and go back here. Everything should be saved. I'll save the scene, go back here, save everything else. Okay, let's go ahead and play the scene and we should be able to hear it. And there we go, the game is complete. I hope you guys play it for a little bit and have fun. And that is it. We have our game complete. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit, and then I'm going to share it with you and also share it with my boss, and hopefully he likes it. And I'll come back again later. I'm thinking my boss will probably want to ask me some more questions or maybe do some things to make it better, because you can see there are a lot of little issues we have here. Like you can't see all of the text and some other things. So when I come back, we'll see what my boss says about it and if he liked it. And if he didn't, we'll fix it for the next video. But until then, this is your first game completed with Cocos Creator. Give yourself a good round of applause, a pat on the back, and tell your friends on Twitter and Facebook and share this whole video with them as well so that they can make their own versions. And of course, like I said, you can do anything you want with this game. And as I said, you can go ahead, if you don't like what we have for the bird, like if you don't like this bird, it's fine. You can go ahead and you can change it. You have the opportunity with the sprite. You can always change the sprites, and you can always change what the ground looks like. Do whatever you want. Make your own version of it and make it fun. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. Hope you had a fun time watching, and I'll see you in the next video.